In a divine narration found in Sunan an-Nasai, number 2219, the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, advised that all righteous deeds people perform are for themselves except for fasting, as this is for Allah the Exalted, and He shall reward it directly. This narration indicates the uniqueness of fasting. One of the reasons it is described in this manner is because all other righteous deeds are visible to people, such as the prayer, or they are between people, such as secret charity. Whereas, fasting is a unique righteous deed, as others cannot know someone is fasting by only observing them. In addition, fasting is a righteous deed which puts a lock on every aspect of oneself. Meaning, a person who fasts correctly will be prevented from committing verbal and physical sins, such as looking at and hearing unlawful things. This is also achieved through the prayer, but the prayer is only performed for a short time and is visible to others, whereas fasting occurs throughout the day and is invisible to others. Chapter 29 Al-Ankabut, verse 45.
Indeed, prayer prohibits immorality and wrongdoing.
It is clear from the following verse a person who does not complete the obligatory fasts without a valid reason will not be a true believer, as the two have been directly connected. Chapter 2 Al-Baqarah, verse 183.
O you who have believed, decreed upon you is fasting as it was decreed upon those before you that you may become righteous.
In fact, the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, has warned in a narration found in Jami' at-Tirmidhi, number 723, that if a Muslim does not complete a single obligatory fast without a valid reason, they cannot make up for the reward and blessings lost, even if they fasted every day for their entire life. In addition, as indicated by the verse quoted earlier, fasting correctly leads to piety. Meaning, simply starving during the day does not lead to piety, but paying extra attention to abstaining from sins and performing righteous deeds during the fast will lead to piety. It is why a narration found in Jami' at-Tirmidhi, number 707, warns that a fast will not be significant if one does not abstain from speaking and acting on falsehood. A similar narration found in Sunan Ib, near Marja, number 1690, warns that some fasting people obtain nothing except hunger. When one becomes more aware and careful in obeying Allah, the Exalted, while they are fasting, this habit will eventually affect them, so they behave in a similar way, even when they are not fasting. This is in fact true piety. The righteousness mentioned in the verse quoted earlier is connected to fasting, as fasting reduces one's evil desires and passions. It prevents pride and the encouragement of sins. This is because fasting hinders the appetite of the stomach and one's carnal desires. These two things lead to many sins. In addition, the desire for these two things is greater than the desire for other unlawful things. So whoever controls them through fasting will find it easier to control the weaker evil desires. This leads to true righteousness. As briefly indicated earlier, there are different levels of fasting. The first and lowest level of fasting is when one abstains from the things which will break their fast, such as food. The next level is abstaining from sins which damage one's fast, thereby reducing the reward of their fast, such as lying. This has been indicated in a narration found in Sunan an-Nasai, number 2235. Fasting which involves each member of the body is the next level. This is when each body part fasts from sins, for example, the eyes from looking at the unlawful, the ears from listening to the unlawful, and so on. The next level is when one behaves in this manner, even when they are not fasting. Finally, the highest level of fasting is abstaining from all things which are not connected to Allah, the Exalted, meaning one avoids using the blessings they have been granted, such as their time, in ways which are sinful or vain. A Muslim should also fast inwardly as their body fasts outwardly by abstaining from sinful or vain thoughts. They should fast from persisting on their own plans in respect to their desires, and try to concentrate on fulfilling their duties and responsibilities. In addition, they should fast from inwardly challenging the decree of Allah, the Exalted, and instead accept destiny and whatever it brings, knowing Allah, the Exalted, only chooses the best for His servants, even if they do not understand the wisdom behind these choices. Chapter 2 Al-Baqarah, verse 216.
But perhaps you hate a thing and it is good for you, and perhaps you love a thing and it is bad for you. And Allah knows while you know not.
Finally, a Muslim should aim for the highest reward by keeping their fast a secret, and not inform others if it is avoidable, as informing others unnecessarily leads to a loss of reward, as it is an aspect of showing off. In a narration found in Jami' at-Tirmidhi, number 664, the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, advised that charity extinguishes the anger of Allah, the Exalted, and protects one against an evil death. This charity includes both obligatory and voluntary charity. As mentioned in this narration, charity has a strong positive effect, as wealth is often a beloved worldly thing to people. So when they give it up for the sake of Allah, the Exalted, by donating it to the needy, Allah, the Exalted, averts his anger from them, anger caused by their disobedience. When this occurs, the person will become encompassed by the mercy of Allah, the Exalted, which will guide them through the difficulties, temptations and tests they face in this world safely, so that when they reach their death, they die in submission to Allah, the Exalted, meaning as a true Muslim. An evil death is when one dies without their faith. This can occur when one possesses weak faith, which is a result of their ignorance of Islamic knowledge. The more one gains an acts on Islamic knowledge, the stronger their faith will become. An evil death can also occur when one persists on major sins, such as abandoning the obligatory prayers. It does not take a scholar to conclude where this person will end up in the hereafter. It is the reason why the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, advised in a narration found in Jami' at-Tirmidhi, number 1961, that a generous person is close to Allah, the Exalted, close to people, close to paradise and far from hell. A Muslim should therefore make it their habit to donate charity regularly, according to their means, as Allah, the Exalted, observes quality, meaning one's sincerity, not quantity. Even a date fruit given sincerely for the sake of Allah, the Exalted, will earn a Muslim reward greater in size than a mountain. This has been confirmed in a narration found in Sahih Muslim, number 2342. Finally, one must remember that charity includes all good deeds that help others, not just wealth. So the one who does not possess wealth should give charity in other ways, such as giving others their time, energy, and emotional support. The least one can do is keep their verbal and physical harm away from others, as this is considered as giving charity to oneself. This has been advised in a narration found in Sahih Muslim, number 250. In a narration found in Sunan Ib, near Majah, number 1081, the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, advised Muslims how to gain blessings in their provision, divine support and an improvement in their condition and state. The first thing is to sincerely repent to Allah, the Exalted, before one dies. As the time of death is unknown, this narration actually indicates sincerely repenting whenever one commits a sin, meaning repenting without delay. This consists of feeling regretful, seeking forgiveness from Allah, the Exalted, and whoever else has been wronged, making a firm promise not to commit the same or a similar sin again, and, if possible, to make up for any rights which have been violated in respect to Allah, the Exalted, and people. The next thing advised in the main narration is that a Muslim must make use of their time before they become preoccupied with responsibilities, an illness or a difficulty. A Muslim must utilize their resources, such as their time, on things which please Allah, the Exalted, and avoid vain and sinful things. One must remember the great regret they will face on Judgment Day when they observe the reward given to those who use their resources in ways pleasing to Allah, the Exalted, if they failed to do the same. They must not postpone doing good to a time or day which they are not guaranteed to reach, and even if they reach it, they may not be in the right position to do the good deed. It is hoped that the one who behaves in this manner will be supported by Allah, the Exalted, when they are no longer in a position to perform extra righteous deeds due to a change in circumstances. This has been indicated in a narration found in Imam Bukhari's Adab al-Mufrad, number 500. A Muslim must first aim to minimize using their time on things which do not benefit them in this world or the next. Next, they should try to reduce the things which only benefit them in this world, and concentrate more on doing things which benefit them in the hereafter, which by definition, automatically benefits them in this world too. The one who remains steadfast on this will use their resources, such as their time, in the right way, in ways pleasing to Allah, the Exalted. The next thing mentioned in the main narration is that a Muslim must strengthen their bond with Allah, the Exalted, by remembering Him much. True remembrance of Allah, the Exalted, consists of 3 levels. The first is internal remembrance, meaning, to correct one's intention so that they only act to please Him. This is proven when one does not expect nor hope from any return or gratitude from people. The second level consists of remembering Allah, the Exalted, by speaking good words and avoiding vain and sinful speech. And the highest level is to sincerely obey Allah, the Exalted, through one's actions by using the blessings they have been granted in ways pleasing to Him. This has been discussed in the Holy Quran and the traditions of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. The final thing mentioned in the main narration is giving much charity, both hidden and open. This includes both the obligatory and voluntary charity. It is important to note, this means giving charity according to one's means, whether it is much or little. Allah, the Exalted, does not observe quantity, He observes and judges actions based on quality, meaning one's sincerity. This has been indicated in a narration found in Sahih Bukhari, number 1. This leaves Muslims with no excuses but to give charity according to their means. In addition, it is important to give charity regularly instead of once in a while, as regular deeds are more beloved to Allah, the Exalted, even if they are little. This has been advised in a narration found in Sahih Bukhari, number 6465. Finally, those who desire to encourage others to give charity can give it publicly. This will lead to them gaining the same reward as those who donate, because of their inspiration. This has been advised in a narration found in Sahih Muslim, number 2351. But those who are fearful of showing off, which cancels their reward, should do so privately. Islam has provided many options and opportunities for Muslims to gain much reward, in order to obtain peace and success in both worlds. One must remember that charity includes all good deeds that help others, not just wealth. So the one who does not possess wealth should give charity in other ways, such as giving others their time, energy, and emotional support. The least one can do is keep their verbal and physical harm away from others, as this is considered as giving charity to oneself. This has been advised in a narration found in Sahih Muslim, number 250. In a narration found in At-Tirmidhi, number 2322, the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, advised that everything in this material world is cursed, except the remembrance of Allah, the Exalted, what is connected to it, the knowledgeable person and the student of knowledge. The remembrance of Allah, the Exalted, encompasses all the levels of remembrance. Namely, internal silent remembrance, which includes correcting one's intention, so that they only act for the sake of Allah, the Exalted. Remembering Allah, the Exalted, via the tongue, which is achieved by either speaking what is good or remaining silent. And the most important level is practically remembering Allah, the Exalted, by fulfilling His commands, refraining from His prohibitions, and by facing destiny with patience according to the traditions of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. The one who does this will ensure they use the blessings they have been granted in ways pleasing to Allah, the Exalted. This leads to peace and success in both worlds. Chapter 16 and now, verse 97.
Whoever does righteousness, whether male or female, while he is a believer, we will surely cause him to live a good life, and we will surely give them their reward in the hereafter according to the best of what they used to do.
Anything which leads to the remembrance of Allah, the Exalted, includes the obedience of Allah, the Exalted, such as striving in the material world in order to fulfill one's necessities and the necessities of their dependents, according to the teachings of Islam without waste, excessiveness or extravagance. In reality, this includes any action which appears worldly or religious, as long as it involves the obedience of Allah, the Exalted. Both the knowledgeable person and the student of knowledge are the only people who will obey Allah, the Exalted, correctly, as this is not possible to achieve without knowledge. An ignorant person disobeys Allah, the Exalted, without even realizing it, as they are unaware of what counts as a sin or a righteous deed. In some cases, one may even believe they are strictly obeying Him, even though they are far from it. The knowledgeable and the student of knowledge know how to use the blessings they have been granted in ways pleasing to Allah, the Exalted. But it is important to note that one must act on their knowledge with sincerity. Knowledge without actions is not beneficial. To conclude, in reality nothing is really cursed in the material world in itself. It is how a thing is used which determines if it is cursed or not. For example, if wealth is used correctly, according to the teachings of Islam, then it is a great blessing in both worlds. But if it is misused or hoarded, then it will become a curse for its owner in both worlds. This can be applied to all things in this world.
In a narration found in Sahih Bukhari, number 2409, the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, advised that each person is a guardian and therefore responsible for the things under their care. The greatest thing a Muslim is a guardian of is their faith. Therefore, they must strive to fulfill its responsibility by fulfilling the commands of Allah, the Exalted, refraining from His prohibitions and by facing destiny with patience according to the traditions of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. This guardianship also includes every blessing one has been granted by Allah, the Exalted, which includes external things, such as wealth, and internal things, such as one's body. A Muslim must fulfill the responsibility of these things by using them in the way prescribed by Islam. For example, a Muslim should only use their eyes to look at lawful things, their tongue to utter only lawful and beneficial words, and their wealth in beneficial and virtuous ways. This guardianship also extends to others within one's life, such as relatives and friends. A Muslim must fulfill this responsibility by fulfilling their rights, such as providing for them and gently commanding good and forbidding evil, according to the teachings of Islam. One should not cut off from others, especially over worldly issues. Instead, they should continue to treat them kindly, hoping they will change for the better. This guardianship includes one's children. A Muslim must guide them by leading by example, as this by far is the most effective way in guiding children. They must obey Allah, the Exalted, practically as discussed earlier, and teach their children to do the same. The root of this involves gaining and acting on Islamic knowledge. To conclude, according to this narration, everyone has some sort of responsibility they have been entrusted with, so they should gain and act on the relevant knowledge in order to fulfill them, as this is a part of obeying Allah, the Exalted, and will therefore be questioned about on Judgment Day. Chapter 17 Al-Isra, verse 34.
And fulfill every commitment. Indeed, the commitment is ever that about which one will be questioned.
In a narration found in Jami at-Tirmizi, number 2346, the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, advised that whoever wakes up in the morning safe from danger, healthy and having food for the day, is as if the world was gathered for them. In this day and age, where many people around the world are living in unsafe countries, a Muslim who has been blessed with safety should make use of it by using their freedom to obey Allah, the Exalted, by fulfilling His commands, refraining from His prohibitions, and by facing destiny with patience according to the traditions of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. For example, they should take advantage of journeying to the mosques for the congregational prayers and religious gatherings of knowledge. In addition, Muslims should extend this sense of security to others, irrespective of their faith, so that the whole society becomes secure from danger. In fact, according to a narration found in Sunan an-Nasai, number 4998. A person cannot be a true Muslim or believer until they keep their verbal and physical harm away from a person and their possessions. Simply put, a Muslim should treat others in the same way they desire to be treated by people. A Muslim must take advantage of their good health by obeying Allah, the Exalted, as it is a blessing which is often only truly appreciated until it is lost. This has been indicated in a narration found in Sahih Bukhari, number 6412. Those who make good use of their good health by obeying Allah, the Exalted, will find that they will receive His support when they eventually lose their good health. For example, the one who falls sick will receive the reward for doing the same righteous deeds they used to do when they were healthy, even if they no longer do them because of their sickness. This has been advised in a narration found in Imam Bukhari's Adab al-Mufrad, number 500. But those who fail to make use of their good health are unlikely to receive this support. It is important to note, making use of one's health includes striving in this material world in order to fulfill one's needs and the needs of their dependents, while avoiding extravagance and waste. One of the major concerns of a person is their provision. A Muslim should remember that it was allocated to them over 50,000 years before the creation of the heavens and the earth. This is confirmed in a narration found in Sahih Muslim, number 6748. The one who obtains their daily provision should concern themselves with their other duties and plan for tomorrow without stressing, as their provision is guaranteed. Finally, the main narration also encourages one to adopt a simple lifestyle, as this leads to peace of mind and body. The more one strives for the unnecessary aspects of the material world, the more they will stress. For example, the one who owns one house will have less stress and things to deal with than the one who owns 2 houses. This is why the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, has advised that simplicity is a part of faith. This has been confirmed in a narration found in Sunan ibn Majah, number 4118. In a narration found in Sahih Muslim, number 290, the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, warned that the one who spreads malicious gossip will not enter paradise. This is the one who spreads gossip, whether it is true or not, which causes problems between people and leads to fractured and broken relationships. This is an evil characteristic, and those who behave in such a manner are in fact human devils, as this mentality belongs to none other than the devil. He always strives to cause separation between people. Allah, the Exalted, has cursed this type of person in the Holy Quran. Chapter 104 Al-Humayzah, verse 1.
Woe to every scorner and mocker!
How can one expect Allah, the Exalted, to fix their problems and bestow them with blessings if this curse has surrounded them? The only time tale-bearing is acceptable is when one is warning others of a danger. It is a duty on a Muslim not to pay any attention to a tale-bearer, as they are wicked people who should not be trusted or believed. Chapter 49 Al-Hujurat, verse 6.
O you who have believed! If there comes to you a disobedient one with information, investigate, lest you harm a people out of ignorance, and become, over what you have done, regretful.
And chapter 24 An-Nur, verse 12.
Why, when you heard it, did not the believing men and believing women think good of themselves and say, this is an obvious falsehood?
A Muslim should forbid the tale-bearer from continuing with this evil characteristic and urge them to sincerely repent, as commanded in the Holy Quran. A Muslim should not harbor any ill will against the person that supposedly said something bad about them or others. Chapter 49 Al-Hujurat, verse 12.
O you who have believed, avoid much negative assumption. Indeed, some assumption is sin.
This same verse teaches Muslims not to try to prove or disprove the tale-bearer by spying on others. Chapter 49 Al-Hujurat, verse 12.
And do not spy.
Instead, the tale-bearer should be ignored. A Muslim should not mention the information given to them by the tale-bearer to another person, or mention the tale-bearer, as this would make them a tale-bearer as well. Muslims should avoid tale-bearing and the company of tale-bearers, as they can never be worthy of trust or companionship until they sincerely repent. One must remember that the one who gossips about others with a person, will also gossip about that person with others. Finally, as the tale-bearer wronged people, they will not be forgiven by Allah, the Exalted, until their victims forgive them first, as people are not so merciful and forgiving. This may lead to the tale-bearer giving their good deeds to their victims, and if necessary, the tale-bearer will take the sins of their victims on Judgment Day. This may cause them to be hurled into hell. This has been warned in a narration found in Sahih Muslim, number 6579. Finally, the warning in the main narration of losing out on paradise can easily occur for a tale-bearer, as the malicious gossip they initiated can easily spread like wildfire across the community and even the world, through social media. As a result, the tale-bearer who initiated the gossip will have a share in the sin of every person that discusses this piece of gossip, and their sins will continue to increase even after their death, as long as the gossip they initiated continues to be discussed. This has been indicated in a narration found in Jamia Tirmizi, number 2674. Therefore, one must avoid this dangerous outcome by always avoiding gossiping about others, just like they dislike for others to gossip about them. If one must speak about others, they should do so in a positive way, otherwise they should remain silent. In a narration found in Sahih Bukhari, number 1240, the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, listed 5 rights a Muslim owes another Muslim. Firstly, they are to respond to the greeting of peace, even if replying contradicts their desires. More importantly, a Muslim must fulfill the Islamic greeting of peace practically by showing peace and kindness towards others through their speech and actions. It is extremely hypocritical to extend the Islamic greeting of peace to someone and then harm them through their actions or other words. In addition, this peace must be shown to others who are not present also. For example, the 2 Muslims who greet each other must not harm others through their speech or actions either. This is the true meaning of the Islamic greeting of peace. The next thing advised in the main narration under discussion is visiting the sick. A Muslim should try to visit sick Muslims in order to provide them physical and psychological support. It would be difficult to visit all sick Muslims, but if each Muslim at least visited their sick relatives, then the vast majority of the sick would obtain this support. A Muslim must contact the sick person and their household before visiting them in order to arrange a convenient time. All forms of vain or sinful speech and actions must be avoided, such as gossiping, otherwise a Muslim will only earn sins instead of blessings. They should not remain long in order to avoid causing discomfort to the sick person or their household. Next, a Muslim, when possible, should attend the funeral of other Muslims, as each attendee supplicates for the deceased to be forgiven and benefits from being reminded of death and practically preparing for it, which involves using the blessings one has been granted in ways pleasing to Allah, the Exalted, just like one desires others to attend their funeral and supplicate for them. They too should do this for others. In addition, attending a funeral is an excellent way to determine whether the family of the deceased needs any further support, such as financial support. Each Muslim should aid them according to their means, just like they would like the aid of Allah, the Exalted, in their moment of need. In fact, the one who aids others for the sake of Allah, the Exalted, will gain his support. This has been confirmed in a narration found in Sahih Muslim, number 6853. The next thing mentioned in the main narration under discussion is that Muslims should accept the invitation for meals and social events, as long as no unlawful or disliked activities take place, which in this day and age is quite rare. An important point to note is that some Muslims attend social events where unlawful or disliked things occur and cite this narration to support their actions. One should not misinterpret the divine teachings in order to fulfill their own desires, as this is clear misguidance and an invitation to divine punishment. One should attend the social events where lawful things are taking place and beneficial worldly and religious things are discussed. One must be on guard to ensure they avoid vain and evil actions and speech, otherwise avoiding socializing is better for them. Finally, the main narration under discussion concludes by advising Muslims to supplicate for the Muslim who praises Allah, the Exalted, after they sneeze. Generally speaking, this encourages one to always think and behave positively towards others, especially Muslims. They should strive to benefit others for the sake of Allah, the Exalted, thereby not desiring nor hoping for any gratitude from them, according to their means, such as a supplication on their behalf. Simply put, one should treat others how they wish people to treat them. In a narration found in Sahih Bukhari, number 1302, the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, advised that real patience is shown at the onset of a difficulty. First of all, patience is when one controls their words and actions so that they maintain their sincere obedience to Allah, the Exalted, whenever they encounter a difficulty. It is important to understand that true patience is shown throughout a calamity, meaning, from the very onset of the difficulty onwards, accepting the reality of a difficulty, such as the death of a loved one. Eventually, with the passing of time occurs with everyone, this is acceptance, not true patience. Muslims should therefore ensure they encounter difficulties while patience, believing that everything which Allah, the Exalted, chooses is best for everyone involved, even if they fail to observe the wisdoms behind the choices. Instead, they should reflect on the many times when they believed something was good yet it ended up being bad, and vice versa. Understanding the extreme short-sightedness and limited knowledge of humans and the infinite knowledge and wisdom of Allah, the Exalted, can aid a Muslim to show patience from the onset of a difficulty. Chapter 2 Al-Baqarah, verse 216.
But perhaps you hate a thing and it is good for you, and perhaps you love a thing and it is bad for you. And Allah knows, while you know not.
In addition, as Allah, the Exalted, does not burden a soul with more than they can handle, it leaves no one with an excuse not to show patience and maintain their sincere obedience to Allah, the Exalted, through words and actions, from the onset of a difficulty. Chapter 2 Al-Baqarah, verse 286.
Allah does not charge a soul except with that within its capacity.
In addition, it is important for Muslims to continue showing patience till the end of their life. This is because a person can easily lose the reward of patience even if they were patient from the onset, by demonstrating impatience further down the line. This is an extremely deadly trap of the devil. He patiently waits for decades just to ruin the reward of a Muslim. The Holy Quran makes it clear that a Muslim will gain reward for what they bring to Judgment Day, meaning, take with them when they die. It does not declare they will gain reward after simply doing a deed, such as showing patience at the onset of a difficulty. Chapter 6 Al-An'am, verse 160.
Whoever comes on the day of judgment with a good deed,
in a narration found in Sunan ibn Majah, number 4142, the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, advised Muslims to observe those who possess less worldly things than them instead of those who possess more, as this will prevent them from becoming ungrateful to Allah, the Exalted. Unfortunately, some incorrectly observe the lives of others, which appear to be better than their own life. For example, normal people often observe celebrities and mistakenly believe their life is better. In most cases, this concept is not true, as people who appear to be in a better situation may well be facing difficulties which would make others not wish to trade places with them. An outsider will only observe things from one shallow point of view. But if they could see the whole story, they would realize everyone faces problems and no one has the perfect life irrespective of what they own or how famous they are. Often this misconception is caused by the media, but people fail to remember that the aim of the media is to paint a certain picture of the lives of celebrities which look appealing to read about. In most cases, if they only reported facts without sugar-coating them, the majority of their customers would turn away from them. Muslims must avoid this false belief, as it is a tool of the devil who uses it to inspire people to become ungrateful over what they possess. The correct mindset, which has been advised in this narration, will prevent one becoming ungrateful to Allah, the Exalted. Whenever a Muslim feels ungrateful, they should shift their focus to the countless people who are living in severe poverty and facing much greater hardships than them. This will encourage them to be grateful to Allah, the Exalted, for what He has granted them. This gratitude is practically shown by using the blessings one has been granted in ways pleasing to Allah, the Exalted. This will lead to an increase in blessings. Chapter 14 Ibrahim, verse 7.
And remember when your Lord proclaimed, "If you are grateful, I will surely increase you in favor."
The grass is not greener on the other side of the fence. It is in fact green enough on one's own side. Chapter 2 Al-Baqarah, verse 216.
But perhaps you hate a thing and it is good for you, and perhaps you love a thing and it is bad for you. And Allah knows, while you know not.
But in respect to one's religion, they should always observe those who are more dedicated to Islam than them. This attitude will prevent one from adopting laziness when they observe those who are less dedicated to Islam than them. Observing others who are less dedicated to Islam can even encourage one to justify and belittle their sins, which is a dangerous path to adopt. Observing those who are more dedicated to Islam will also encourage one to strive harder in their dedication to Islam in order to fulfill their potential. The root of this is gaining and acting on Islamic knowledge.
In a narration found in At-Tirmidhi, number 1376, the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, advised some righteous deeds which continue benefiting a Muslim after their death, namely, ongoing charity, useful knowledge, and a righteous child who supplicates for their deceased parent. It is important to understand worldly legacies come and go. How many rich and powerful people have built massive empires, only for them to be torn apart and forgotten shortly after their death. The few signs left behind from some of these legacies only endure in order to warn people not to follow in their footsteps. An example of this is the great empire of Pharaoh. Islam not only teaches Muslims to send blessings ahead of them to the hereafter in the form of righteous deeds, but it also teaches Muslims to leave a lovely legacy behind, from which they and other people can gain benefit from. Unfortunately, many Muslims are so concerned about their wealth and properties, that they only end up leaving them behind, which does not benefit them in the least. Each Muslim should not be fooled into believing they have plenty of time for creating a legacy for themselves, as the moment of death is unknown, and often pounces on people unexpectedly. Today is the day a Muslim should truly reflect on the legacy they will leave behind, and if it is righteous, they should praise Allah, the Exalted, for granting them the strength to do so. But if it is something which will not benefit them, then they should prepare something which will benefit them after their death, so that they not only send forward good to the hereafter but also leave good behind. It is hoped that the one who is surrounded by good in this way will be forgiven by Allah, the Exalted. The ongoing charity mentioned in the main narration includes anything from which the creation continues to benefit from, such as a water well. As long as the creation benefits from it, the donor will continue to receive reward, even after their death. Useful knowledge includes both worldly and religious knowledge which benefit people. According to the narration found in Sunan Abu Dawood, number 3641, leaving useful knowledge behind is the tradition of all the holy prophets, peace be upon him. Therefore, Muslims must strive to concentrate on fulfilling this tradition, instead of concentrating on leaving wealth and properties behind. This part of the main narration also encourages one to gain and act on beneficial knowledge, as one first needs to learn before they can teach others. If one struggles to learn and teach, then they should organize for someone else to learn and teach, such as sponsoring a student of knowledge. This will ensure they gain a full share of reward of any useful knowledge spread by this student of knowledge. The final thing mentioned in the main narration can only be fulfilled when one raises their child according to Islamic teachings. Otherwise, they will not bother with supplicating on behalf of their deceased parents with sincerity. The best way one can achieve this is to lead by example. Meaning, a parent must learn and act on Islamic teachings and be a practical role model for their child to follow. The one who behaves in such a manner will find that their child becomes a blessing for them during their life and after their death, as their child will sincerely supplicate on their behalf regularly.
In a narration found in Jamia Tirmizi, number 2389, the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, advised that righteousness is good character and the sin creates a negative internal feeling and its doer would dislike others finding out about it. This narration indicates that the root of all good and righteousness is good character. This is when one fulfills their duty towards Allah, the Exalted, by fulfilling His commands, refraining from His prohibitions and by facing destiny with patience according to the traditions of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, and it includes fulfilling the rights of people according to the teachings of Islam. This can be fulfilled when one treats people in the same way they desire others to treat them. In fact, a person will not become a true believer until they love for others what they love for themselves. This has been advised in a narration found in Jamia Tirmizi, number 2515. Good character towards Allah, the Exalted, and people is important to adopt as it will be the heaviest thing in the scales of Judgment Day, and the person who possesses good character will gain the equivalent reward of the one who prays and fasts continuously. This has been advised in a narration found in Jamia Tirmizi, number 2003. The main narration under discussion also indicates how to judge one's actions. A sin is something which creates a negative internal feeling and the sinner would dislike others finding about their actions. If a Muslim adheres to this advice, they will avoid the vast majority of sins, as human beings have been created in a way which alerts them when they commit most sins. This guilty conscience is in fact a proof that one's soul has been predisposed to believe in their accountability on the Day of Judgment, as one feels negatively towards sins, even when they fully believe they will not be held accountable for them by people, such as the police. It is important to note, Muslims must still strive to gain and act on Islamic knowledge, as this internal warning does not occur with all sins and they will lose this warning system if they persist on the disobedience of Allah, the Exalted. This has been indicated in a narration found in Sunan ibn Majah, number 4244. But nonetheless, it is still an excellent deterrent from sins, which Muslims must pay heed to. In a narration found in Sahih Bukhari, number 6474, the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, guaranteed paradise to the person who safeguards their mouth and chastity. The first thing mentioned indicates safeguarding one's speech, meaning, a Muslim must avoid all types of evil speech, such as backbiting, as it only takes a single evil word to cause someone to plunge into hell on Judgment Day. This has been warned in a narration found in Jamia Tirmizi, number 2314. In addition, a Muslim should avoid all vain and useless speech, as this only wastes one's precious time, which will be a great regret for them on Judgment Day. In addition, vain speech is often the first step before sinful speech, therefore, it is best to avoid it. One should either speak good or remain silent. This has been advised in a narration found in Sahih Muslim, number 176. The main narration under discussion also advises to safeguard oneself from consuming the unlawful. This will lead to all of one's righteous deeds being rejected, irrespective of their intention. This has been warned in a narration found in Sahih Muslim, number 2342. The same way the inward foundation of Islam is one's intention, the outward foundation of Islam is obtaining and utilizing the lawful. Without correcting these two foundations of Islam, one cannot achieve peace and success in either this world or the next. The second aspect of the main narration under discussion advises Muslims to safeguard their chastity, meaning, avoid unlawful relationships. A Muslim has been given a way to achieve this, namely, marriage. If a Muslim is not in the right position to get married, such as financially, then they should fast often, as this reduces carnal desires. This has been advised in a narration found in Sahih Bukhari, number 1905. Safeguarding one's chastity is vital, as illegal relationships always lead to unwanted and deprived children, a failure in fulfilling the rights of one's partners, and broken homes, which in turn increases crime, mental disorders and other social problems on a mass scale. Finally, as these two aspects combined lead to paradise, it is therefore the reason why getting married has been labeled completing half of one's faith in a narration found in Al-Mujam al-Asat, number 992. In a narration found in Imam Manzari's Awareness and Apprehension, number 30, the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, advised that the Holy Quran will intercede on Judgment Day. Those who follow it during their lives on earth will be led to paradise by it on Judgment Day. But those who neglect it during their lives on earth will find that it pushes them into hell on Judgment Day. The Holy Quran is a book of guidance. It is not merely a book of recitation. Muslims must therefore strive to fulfill all aspects of the Holy Quran to ensure that it guides them to success in both worlds. The first aspect is reciting it correctly and regularly. The second aspect is to understand it through a reliable scholar. And the final aspect is to act on its teachings according to the traditions of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. This will ensure they act on the Holy Quran correctly, as the life of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, is the practical implementation of the Holy Quran. Those who behave in such a manner are the ones who are given glad tidings of right guidance through every difficulty in this world and its intercession on the Day of Judgment. Chapter 16 and Nal, verse 97.
Whoever does righteousness, whether male or female, while he is a believer, we will surely cause him to live a good life, and we will surely give them their reward in the hereafter, according to the best of what they used to do.
But as warned by the main narration, the Holy Quran is only guidance and a mercy for those who correctly act on its aspects according to the traditions of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. But those who avoid understanding and acting on it or intentionally misinterpret it and instead act according to their desires will be deprived of this right guidance and its intercession on Judgment Day. In fact, their complete loss in both worlds will only increase until they sincerely repent. Chapter 20 Taha, verse 124.
And whoever turns away from my remembrance, indeed he will have a depressed life, and we will gather him on the day of resurrection blind.
Finally, it is important to understand that even though the Holy Quran is a cure for worldly problems, a Muslim should not only use it for this purpose, meaning, they should not only recite it in order to fix their worldly problems, thereby treating the Holy Quran like a tool, which is removed during a difficulty and then placed back in a toolbox when the issue is resolved. The main function of the Holy Quran is to guide one through the difficulties of this world in order to reach the hereafter safely. This purpose is not possible to fulfill without understanding and acting on the Holy Quran. Blind recitation is simply not enough. Neglecting this main function and only using it to fix one's worldly problems is not correct, as it contradicts the behavior of a true Muslim. It is like the one who purchases a car with many different accessories yet it cannot be driven, which is the main purpose of a car. There is no doubt that this person is simply foolish. Chapter 17 Al-Isra, verse 82.
And we send down of the Quran that which is healing and mercy for the believers, but it does not increase the wrongdoers except in loss.
In a narration found in Jami at-Tirmidhi, number 2417, the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, warned that a person's feet will not move on Judgment Day until they answer 5 questions. The first is about their life and what they did with it. This refers to the time given to a person. A Muslim should understand that death often comes at an unexpected time. A Muslim should not assume they will reach elderly age, as many die before this occurs. In reality, no matter what age one reaches, everyone admits that their life went by in a flash. A Muslim should not believe they will obey Allah, the Exalted, such as attending the mosques for the congregational prayers when they reach elderly age, as this is wishful thinking. Even if one reaches this age, as they were too engrossed in the material world during their life, the change in their environment will have little positive effect on their character and obedience to Allah, the Exalted. A Muslim should instead utilize the time they have been granted, instead of delaying by obeying Allah, the Exalted, which involves fulfilling His commands, refraining from His prohibitions, and by facing destiny with patience according to the traditions of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. The one who behaves in this manner will use the blessings they have been granted in ways pleasing to Allah, the Exalted. This will ensure they obtain peace and success in both worlds, irrespective of how long they live. Chapter 16 and now, verse 97.
Whoever does righteousness, whether male or female, while he is a believer, we will surely cause him to live a good life, and we will surely give them their reward in the hereafter according to the best of what they used to do.
But the one who fails to utilize their time in the correct way will find that they waste it on vain things, which prevents them from obtaining peace and success in both worlds, as they did not use their resources in ways pleasing to Allah, the Exalted. Chapter 20 Taha, verse 124.
And whoever turns away from my remembrance, indeed he will have a depressed, i.e. difficult life, and we will gather, i.e. raise him on the day of resurrection blind.
Failing to use one's time correctly will also be a great regret on Judgment Day, especially when they observe the reward of those who utilize their time correctly. The next question advised in the main narration under discussion will be about their knowledge and what they did with it. It is important for Muslims to strive to acquire useful worldly and religious knowledge, and more importantly, act on it in order to fulfill their needs and the needs of their dependents, according to the teachings of Islam, and in order to obey Allah, the Exalted, and fulfill the rights of people correctly. The one who remains ignorant or fails to act on their knowledge is unlikely to achieve success in either worlds. A person will only reach their desired location when they first find the correct path, and then journey down it. But if a person fails to locate the correct path, meaning obtain knowledge, or fails to journey down it, meaning act on their knowledge, they will not reach their desired destination, meaning success in both worldly and religious matters. Useful knowledge which is acted upon leads to all good, whereas misusing knowledge leads to trouble in both worlds. The third and fourth questions people will be asked on Judgment Day are about their wealth specifically, how they earned it and how they spent it. Firstly, Muslims must ensure that they only obtain lawful wealth and avoid doubtful or unlawful wealth. Unlawful wealth only leads to the rejection of all of one's righteous deeds. This has been indicated in a narration found in Sahih Muslim, number 2342. If one's foundation is based on the unlawful, then everything coming from it will be considered unlawful and therefore rejected by Allah, the Exalted. The same way the internal foundation of Islam is one's intention, the external foundation of Islam is obtaining and utilizing the lawful. A Muslim is free to obtain lawful wealth and spend it on lawful things, such as fulfilling one's necessities and the necessities of their dependents without waste, excessiveness or extravagance. Wealth can become a great blessing for a person in both worlds when it is obtained and spent correctly. But if it is not, it will become a great regret for them in both worlds. It is why the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, warned in a narration found in Sahih Bukhari, number 6444, that the wealthy will have little good on the Day of Judgment, except for those who spent in ways pleasing to Allah, the Exalted. Before spending on vain things, one should reflect on losing out on the great reward which will be granted to those who spent their wealth correctly on Judgment Day. This will ensure they only spend in ways pleasing to Allah, the Exalted, and avoid sinful and vain expenditure. The final question will be about one's body and how they used it. A Muslim must therefore use every organ of their body, such as their sight and hearing, in the correct way, as prescribed by Islam. This is true gratitude and therefore leads to further blessings. Chapter 14 Ibrahim, verse 7.
And remember when your Lord proclaimed, "If you are grateful, I will surely increase you in favor."
One must ensure they avoid evil and vain speech, as the latter will be a great regret on Judgment Day, and as it often leads to evil speech. One should speak what is good or remain silent. In addition, they must use their physical strength in ways which are pleasing to Allah, the Exalted, before they reach a day when they lose it, and are no longer able to perform righteous deeds. It is hoped that the one who uses their strength in the correct way will be supported by Allah, the Exalted, during their time of weakness. In fact, the one who uses their good health correctly will be granted the same reward when they fall sick, even if they do not perform the same good deeds anymore. This has been advised in a narration found in Imam Bukhari's Adab al-Mufrad, number 500. Finally, a Muslim must keep their physical and verbal harm away from the self and possessions of others, as this is a sign of a true Muslim and believer. This is confirmed in a narration found in Sunan and Nasai, number 4998.
In a narration found in Imam Manzari's Awareness and Apprehension, number 28, the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, advised 3 characteristics which lead a Muslim to paradise. The first is to consume lawful food. This includes avoiding obtaining and utilizing the unlawful, such as wealth, in any aspect of one's life. It has been warned in a narration found in Sahih Muslim, number 2342, that the righteous deeds of Muslim who utilizes unlawful provision will not be accepted by Allah, the Exalted. Obtaining lawful provision is the foundation stone of Islam. Without it, success is not possible, as one's lawful provision was allocated to them over 50,000 years before the creation of the heavens and the earth. According to the narration found in Sahih Muslim, number 6748, a Muslim must therefore utilize their strength and resources in obtaining it, full well believing they will receive it. This will prevent them from pursuing the unlawful. The second characteristic mentioned in the main narration under discussion is following the traditions of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. This does not mean only learning them, but more importantly it includes acting on them. This encompasses fulfilling the commands of Allah, the Exalted, refraining from his prohibitions and facing destiny with patience. A Muslim must never cherry-pick which traditions to follow nor misinterpret them in order to fulfill their desires. They should not rearrange the order of priority of his traditions, meaning, the established traditions should be acted on first, followed by the non-established, meaning, the non-regular traditions, as the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, is the practical role model of the Holy Quran. It is not possible to achieve success and peace in either this world or the next without following in his footsteps practically. Chapter 3 Ali Imran, verse 31.
Say, O Muhammad, if you should love Allah, then follow me. So Allah will love you and forgive you your sins. And Allah is forgiving and merciful.
The final characteristic mentioned in the main narration under discussion is keeping one's harm away from people. This is vital to fulfill, as according to a narration found in Sunan and Nasai, number 4998, a person cannot be a true Muslim or believer until they keep their verbal and physical harm away from a person and their possessions, irrespective of their faith. The one who mistreats others will find that justice will be established on Judgment Day. They will be forced to give their good deeds to their victims and, if required, take their sins. This may cause them to be hurled into hell. This has been warned in a narration found in Sahih Muslim, number 6579. One must instead treat others how they wish people to treat them. This will ensure they not only keep their harm away from others but also aid others according to their means, in order to please Allah, the Exalted. In a narration found in Sunan ibn Majah, number 219, the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, advised that learning one verse of the Holy Quran is better than offering 100 cycles of voluntary prayer, and learning a topic of Islamic knowledge, even if one does not act on it, is better than offering 1,000 cycles of voluntary prayer. Learning a verse includes studying and, more importantly, practically implementing its teachings in one's life. And it is important to note, a Muslim will only gain this reward when they sincerely strive to act on the topic of knowledge they have learned and practically implement it when the opportunity presents itself. Only when one does not gain the opportunity to act on their topic of Islamic knowledge will they gain the reward of offering 1,000 cycles of prayer, even if they do not actually act on it. This is because Allah, the Exalted, judges and rewards people based on their intention and will therefore grant reward to those who would sincerely act when given the opportunity. This is confirmed in a narration found in Sahih Bukhari, number 1. Finally, as indicated by the main narration under discussion, gaining and acting on knowledge is far superior to voluntary worship. This is because the majority of Muslims do not understand the Arabic language and are therefore less likely to improve their behavior and obedience to Allah, the Exalted, in a positive way, as they do not understand the language they use to worship Allah, the Exalted. Whereas, learning and acting on knowledge is much more likely to inspire one to change for the better. This is the reason why some Muslims spend decades performing voluntary worship yet do not improve their behavior towards Allah, the Exalted, or people in the slightest. This by far is not the best course of action. In addition, one cannot worship nor obey Allah, the Exalted, in their daily activities nor fulfill the rights of people correctly without knowledge. The ignorant person will commit sins without realizing it, as they are not aware what actions are considered sins. An ignorant person often fails to perform good deeds with their full conditions and etiquettes, so their many acts of voluntary worship will be deficient. Whereas, the knowledgeable may perform less good deeds, but they will perform them correctly, thereby gaining more reward than the ignorant worshipper.
In a narration found in Sahih Muslim, number 1528, the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, advised that the most beloved places to Allah, the Exalted, are the mosques, and the most hated places to him are the marketplaces. Islam does not prohibit Muslims from going to places other than the mosques, nor does it command them to always inhabit the mosques. But it is important that they prioritize attending mosques for the congregational prayers, and attending religious gatherings, over visiting the markets and other places unnecessarily. When a need arises, there is no harm to attend other places, such as shopping centers, but a Muslim should avoid going to them unnecessarily, as they are places where sins more often occur. Whenever they do go to other places, they must ensure they avoid disobeying Allah, the Exalted, which includes wronging others. They should avoid over-socializing, as this is the cause of the majority of sins which occur in society. The mosques are meant to be a sanctuary from sins and a comfortable place to obey Allah, the Exalted, in. This involves fulfilling the commands of Allah, the Exalted, refraining from His prohibitions and facing destiny with patience according to the traditions of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. Just like a student benefits from a library, as it is an environment created for studying, similarly, Muslims can benefit from mosques, as their very purpose is to encourage Muslims to obtain and act on useful knowledge so that they can obey Allah, the Exalted, correctly. Mosques are also an excellent place to remind one of their purpose, which is to sincerely obey Allah, the Exalted, by using the blessings they have been granted in ways pleasing to Him. The mosques also encourage one to prioritize their activities in the correct way, so that they fulfill their necessities and responsibilities, prepare adequately for the hereafter, and enjoy lawful pleasures in moderation. The one who avoids the mosques often wastes their time and resources on vain and pointless activities, and they therefore lose out on gaining benefit in both worlds. Not only should a Muslim prioritize the mosques over other places, but they should encourage others, such as their children, to do the same. In fact, it is an excellent place for the youth to avoid sins, crimes and bad company, which lead to nothing but trouble and regret in both worlds.
In a narration found in Jamia Tirmizi, number 1993, the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, advised that whoever avoids arguing, even if they are right, will be given a house in the middle of paradise. It is important to understand that the characteristic of a true Muslim is not to argue or debate in order to promote themselves and their opinion. They should instead present the information in order to promote the truth. This applies to both worldly and religious matters. The one who aims to promote the truth will not argue. Only the one who is trying to promote themselves will. Contrary to what many believe, winning arguments does not increase one's rank in any way. The only time one's rank in both worlds increases is when they avoid arguing and instead present the truth or accept it when it is presented to them. A Muslim should avoid going back and forth with others when discussing things, as this is a characteristic of arguing. It is this correct mentality which has been indicated in chapter 16 and now, verse 125.
Invite to the way of your Lord with wisdom and good instruction, and argue with them in a way that is best.
A Muslim should understand that their duty is not to force people to accept something. Their duty is to simply present the truth, as being forceful is a characteristic of arguing. Chapter 88 Al-Ghashiyah, verses 21 to 22.
So remind, O Muhammad, you are only a reminder. You are not over them a controller.
A Muslim should not waste their time nor stress if others disagree with their opinion. When one holds on to these disagreements, over time it can cause enmity to build up between them and others, which can lead to fractured and broken relationships. This can even lead to the sin of severing ties with people. So in cases like this, it is important for Muslims to let things go and not harbor negative feelings towards someone who disagrees with their opinion and choice. They should instead push themselves to agree to disagree and move on from the situation without any ill feelings. The one who fails to do this will find themselves always arguing and possessing enmity for others, as they are bound to disagree with others on certain topics and issues, due to the difference in their characteristics and mentality. Understanding this principle is a branch of finding peace in this world. One should not argue with others who disagrees to the clear teachings of Islam. Instead, they should not take them as a friend, as one will be positively or negatively affected by their companions. Instead, one should maintain respect towards them and fulfill their rights, according to the teachings of Islam, while avoiding socializing with them unnecessarily. In a narration found in Sahih Muslim, number 6534, the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, warned that it is not lawful for a Muslim to abandon another Muslim for more than 3 days. This applies to those who abandon other Muslims for worldly reasons. Even though it is lawful to abandon someone over a religious reason, it is far superior to maintain ties with them and continue the duty of kindly commanding good and forbidding evil according to the teachings of Islam. This behavior will be far more effective in encouraging the sinful to sincerely repent to Allah, the Exalted, than abandoning them. A Muslim should continue to help others in matters of good and forbid them from matters which are bad. Chapter 5 Al-Madah, verse 2.
And cooperate in righteousness and piety, but do not cooperate in sin and aggression. And fear Allah. Indeed, Allah is severe in penalty.
Muslims have been commanded to unite and not separate from each other, as unity leads to strength. The companions, may Allah be pleased with them, were few in number, but as they remained united they overcame entire nations. Unfortunately, not fulfilling this important duty is one of the reasons why the general strength of the Muslims has weakened over time, even though their number has increased. In worldly matters, Muslims have been given 3 days where they can avoid another Muslim. The reason for this concession is that controlling one's anger can be difficult, and most people require time in order to achieve this, and time to realize the worldly issue is not worth severing ties over. Those who struggle to control their anger should take advantage of this concession and avoid the one they are angry with, as one often does and says things while angry which leads to further problems in both worlds. Islam is perfectly suited to the mentality of humans and therefore takes this into consideration when setting out a code of conduct. The one who abandons other Muslims for more than 3 days over worldly issues, should fear that they may well be abandoned by the mercy of Allah, the Exalted, as one is treated by Allah, the Exalted, according to how they treat others. This has been indicated in a narration found in Sahih Bukhari, number 7376. In a narration found in Sunan ibn Majah, number 4102, the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, advised how to obtain the love of Allah, the Exalted, and the love of people. The love of Allah, the Exalted, is obtained when one avoids the excess of this material world, which are beyond their needs and responsibilities. Meaning, a Muslim should strive in this world in order to fulfill their necessities and the necessities of their dependents according to the teachings of Islam. And they should strive in the obedience of Allah, the Exalted, by fulfilling His commands, refraining from His prohibitions, and by facing destiny with patience according to traditions of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. Anything from the material world which aids one in these things is not in reality a worldly thing. Therefore, avoiding them is not required, but one must avoid those things which either hinder or prevent them from fulfilling these duties. When one persists on this attitude, they will only use the blessings they have been granted in ways pleasing to Allah, the Exalted. This is how a Muslim can keep the world in their hand and not in their heart. This is how a Muslim obtains the love of Allah, the Exalted, as this attitude causes them to strive in His obedience, which attracts the love of Allah, the Exalted. This is confirmed in a narration found in Sahih Bukhari, number 6502. Finally, a Muslim can obtain the love of people by not desiring their worldly possessions. In reality, a person only behaves negatively towards others when they feel others actively desire their possessions, or when others actively compete for the worldly things they themselves desire. Meaning, the fear of losing what one possesses and losing out on the things which they desire through competition with others, can lead to negative feelings towards others. If a Muslim instead occupies themselves with acting on the first part of this narration, it will prevent them from competing for the excess worldly things others desire, as the vast majority of these desires are for unnecessary worldly things. And if a Muslim keeps their harm away from the self and possessions of others, which according to a narration found in Sunan an-Nasai, number 4998, is the sign of a true believer, then they will gain the love of people also. In a narration found in Sahih Bukhari, number 6464, the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, advised that deeds should be done correctly, sincerely and moderately. He added that a person's deeds will not take them to paradise, and concluded that the most beloved deeds to Allah, the Exalted, are those which are regular even if they are few. Muslims should ensure that they perform deeds correctly, meaning, according to the traditions of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, as performing deeds without this guidance will lead one away from the pleasure of Allah, the Exalted. Chapter 3 Ali Imran, verse 31.
Say, O Muhammad, if you should love Allah, then follow me. So Allah will love you and forgive you your sins. And Allah is forgiving and merciful.
Next, they must perform them for the pleasure of Allah, the Exalted, and not for any other reason, such as showing off. These people will be told to gain their reward from those who they acted for on Judgment Day, which will not be possible. This has been warned in a narration found in Jami' at-Tirmizi, number 3154. Muslims should perform voluntary righteous deeds moderately without overburdening themselves, as this often leads to one giving up. Instead, they should act according to their capacity and means regularly, even if these actions are little in size and number, as this is far superior to big actions which are performed once in a while. Moderation also prevents one from neglecting any of their duties and responsibilities, whether they are in respect to Allah, the Exalted, or people. Moderation also allows one to fulfill all their responsibilities while ensuring they have plenty of time to enjoy lawful pleasures without excessiveness. extravagance or waste. Finally, a Muslim must understand that their righteous deeds are a blessing from Allah, the Exalted, as the inspiration, knowledge, strength and opportunity to perform them comes from Allah, the Exalted. Therefore, Muslims will only enter paradise through the mercy of Allah, the Exalted. In addition, no matter how many good deeds one performs, they will never be able to show adequate gratitude for the countless blessings they have been granted by Allah, the Exalted. Understanding these facts prevent one from adopting the deadly characteristic of pride, an atom's worth of which is enough to take one to hell. This has been warned in a narration found in Sahih Muslim, number 266. In a narration found in Jami' at-Tirmizi, number 2458, the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, advised that showing true modesty to Allah, the Exalted, involves guarding the head and what it contains, and to protect the stomach and what it contains, and to remember death often. He concluded by declaring that whoever intends to seek the hereafter should leave the adornments of the material world. This narration proves that modesty is something which extends beyond one's clothing. It is something which encompasses every aspect of one's life. Protecting the head includes guarding the tongue, eyes, ears and even the thoughts from sins and vain things. Vain things are important to avoid, as they will be a regret for a person on Judgment Day, and they are often the first step to committing sins. Even though one may hide what they say and what they see from others, but they cannot hide these things from Allah, the Exalted. So protecting these parts of the body is a sign of true modesty. Guarding the stomach means one should avoid unlawful wealth and food. This will lead to the rejection of one's good deeds. This has been indicated in a narration found in Sahih Muslim, number 2342. Just like one's intention is the inward and hidden foundation of Islam, the outward and apparent foundation of Islam is earning and utilizing the lawful. Modesty to Allah, the Exalted, also includes remembering death often. Remembering death is important as it encourages one to sincerely obey Allah, the Exalted, and refrain from sins, as one is never sure when they will encounter death. It reminds one that this world is not their permanent home and they will certainly move from it. Remembering this will encourage one to prepare for their destination, meaning the hereafter. This preparation involves using the blessings one has been granted in ways pleasing to Allah, the Exalted. On the other hand, the one who avoids the remembrance of death will neglect preparing for their inevitable trip to the hereafter, and as a result they will concentrate all their efforts and utilize their blessings and resources on enjoying and beautifying this world. This attitude will prevent one from remembering Allah, the Exalted, and sincerely obeying Him, and this in turn leads to trouble in both worlds. Chapter 20 Taha, verse 124.
And whoever turns away from my remembrance, indeed he will have a depressed life, and we will gather him on the day of resurrection blind.
Finally, modesty towards Allah, the Exalted, includes giving priority to the hereafter over the excess of this material world. It is important to note, this includes taking from the material world in order to fulfill one's needs and the needs of their dependents without waste, excess or extravagance, as these are disliked by Allah, the Exalted. Chapter 7 Al-Araf, verse 31.
And eat and drink, but be not excessive. Indeed, He likes not those who commit excess.
Prioritizing the hereafter also involves using the blessings one has been granted in ways pleasing to Allah, the Exalted, instead of unsatisfying one's desires. The one who behaves in this manner will find peace and success in this world and in the hereafter. This success and peace is therefore only obtained by prioritizing the hereafter over enjoying the unnecessary aspects of this material world. Chapter 16 An-Nahl, verse 97.
Whoever does righteousness, whether male or female, while he is a believer, we will surely cause him to live a good life, and we will surely give them their reward in the hereafter, according to the best of what they used to do. In a narration found in Sahih Bukhari, number 39,
the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, advised that religion is simple and straightforward, and a Muslim should not overburden themselves, as they will not be able to keep up with it. This means that a Muslim should always lead a simple religious and worldly life. Islam does not demand Muslims to overburden themselves in performing righteous deeds, but it in fact teaches simplicity, which is the most beloved religion to Allah, the Exalted. According to a narration found in Imam Bukhari's Adab al-Mufrad, number 287, a Muslim should firstly strive to fulfill their obligatory duties, which are undoubtedly within their strength to fulfill, as Allah, the Exalted, does not burden a Muslim with more than they can bear. This is confirmed in chapter 2 Al-Baqarah, verse 286 of the Holy Quran.
Allah does not charge a soul except with that within its capacity.
Next, they should take some time out of their day to study Islamic teachings so that they can act on the Holy Quran and the established traditions of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, according to their strength. This attracts the love of Allah, the Exalted, according to the narration found in Sahih Bukhari, number 6502. If a Muslim persists on this behavior, they will be provided with such mercy that they will fulfill all their duties towards Allah, the Exalted, and people, and find time to enjoy the lawful pleasures of this world without excess, waste or extravagance. This is how a Muslim makes things easier for themselves. And if they possess dependents, such as children, they should teach them the same, thereby making things easier for them also. Overburdening oneself makes things hard and can push one to completely quit, and relaxing too much will make things hard, as one will lose out on the mercy of Allah, the Exalted, in both worlds through laziness. A balance is therefore best, which Islam always encourages, as Islam is simple. The lawful and unlawful are clear, easy to understand and easy to comply with. One must therefore not complicate things for themselves or their dependents by researching and acting on religious knowledge that is not rooted in the two sources of guidance, meaning the Holy Quran and the traditions of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. When one adheres strictly to these two sources, they will find Islam easy to understand and implement. Finally, by extension, one should strive to keep their worldly life simple. This is achieved when one strives for the material world, such as lawful wealth, according to their needs and responsibilities, while avoiding extravagance and waste. The more one adheres to this, the more relaxed their worldly life will become. When this is coupled with their simple religion, it leads to peace of mind and success in both worlds. In a narration found in Sunan ibn Majah, number 253, the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, warned that the one who obtains religious knowledge in order to show off to scholars, argue with others, or attract attention to themselves will go to hell. Even though the foundation of all good in both worldly and religious matters is knowledge, Muslims must understand that knowledge will only benefit them when they firstly correct their intention, meaning they strive to obtain and act on knowledge in order to please Allah, the Exalted. All other reasons will only lead to a loss of reward and even punishment if a Muslim fails to sincerely repent. In reality, knowledge is like rainwater which falls on different types of trees. Some trees grow by this water in order to benefit others, such as a fruit tree, whereas other trees grow by this water and become a nuisance to others. Even though the rainwater is the same in both cases, yet the outcomes are very different. Similarly, religious knowledge is the same for people, but if one adopts the incorrect intention, then it will become a means of their destruction. Conversely, if one adopts the correct intention, it will become a means of their salvation. Muslims should therefore correct their intention in all matters, as they will be judged on this. This is confirmed in a narration found in Sahih Bukhari, number 1. And they should remember that one of the first people to enter hell will be a scholar who only obtains knowledge in order to show off to others. This has been warned in a narration found in Sahih Muslim, number 4923. In addition, one must couple their good intention with acting on their knowledge, as knowledge without action is not beneficial knowledge, it is merely information. Failing to act on one's knowledge is like a doctor who fails to implement their knowledge of medicine to treat people. The same way they do not benefit themselves or others, neither does a Muslim who possesses Islamic knowledge and fails to implement it. In fact, this person has been compared to a donkey that carries books of knowledge. Chapter 62 Al-Jamua, verse 5.
The example of those who were entrusted with the Torah and then did not take it on is like that of a donkey who carries volumes of books.
In addition, whoever conceals knowledge without a valid reason will be bridled with fire on Judgment Day. This is confirmed in a narration found in Jami' at-Tirmidhi, number 2649. Therefore, Muslims must share the useful knowledge they gain with others. It is simply foolish not to, as this is one of the righteous deeds which will benefit a Muslim even after they die. This has been advised in a narration found in Sunan ibn Majah, number 241. Those who hoarded knowledge were forgotten by history, but those who shared it with others became known as the scholars and teachers of mankind. Finally, the purpose of gaining knowledge is not to defeat others in debates. The duty of a Muslim is to present the truth to others correctly with strong evidence. They have not been assigned the duty of forcing people to accept the truth through argumentation and debating. This attitude only pushes people further from the truth. Instead, one should explain the truth to people without arguing and show this truth by acting on it themselves. This is how the righteous predecessors behaved, and this method is much more effective in bringing others towards the truth. In a narration found in Sahih Muslim, number 265, the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, warned that a person who possesses even an atom's worth of pride in their spiritual heart will not enter paradise. He clarified that pride is when a person rejects the truth and looks down on others. No amount of good deeds will benefit someone who possesses pride. This is quite obvious when one observes the devil and how his countless years of worship did not benefit him when he became proud. In fact, the following verse clearly connects pride with disbelief, so a Muslim must avoid this evil characteristic at all costs. Chapter 2 Al-Baqarah, verse 34.
And mention when we said to the angels, prostrate before Adam. So they prostrated, except for Iblis. He refused and was arrogant and became of the disbelievers.
The proud is the one who rejects the truth when it is presented to them simply because it did not come from them and as it challenges their desires and mentality. The proud person also believes they are superior to others even though they are unaware of their real status in the eyes of Allah, the Exalted. They may believe they are great because of the few insincere and imperfect good deeds they have done, while they are disliked by Allah, the Exalted, because of their many sins. In addition, looking down upon others is foolish as one is unaware of their own ultimate end and the ultimate end of others, meaning, the person they look down upon may well die as a sincere Muslim, whereas they may die as a disbeliever. In reality, it is foolish to be proud of anything, seeing as Allah, the Exalted, created and granted everything a person owns. Even the righteous deeds one performs are only due to the inspiration, knowledge and strength granted by Allah, the Exalted. Therefore, being proud of something which does not innately belong to oneself is plain foolishness. This is just like a person who becomes proud over a mansion they do not even own or live in. This is the reason why pride belongs to Allah, the Exalted, as He alone is the creator and innate owner of all things. The one who challenges Allah, the Exalted, in pride will be thrown into hell. This has been confirmed in a narration found in Sunan Abu Dawud, number 4090. A Muslim should instead follow in the footsteps of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, and adopt humility. The humble truly recognize that all the good they possess and all the evil they are protected from comes from no one except Allah, the Exalted. Therefore, humility is more fitting for a person than pride. A person should not be fooled into believing humility leads to disgrace, as no one has been more honored than the humble servants of Allah, the Exalted. In fact, the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, has guaranteed an increase in status for the one who adopts humility for the sake of Allah, the Exalted. In a narration found in Jami' at-Tirmidhi, number 2029. A humble person accepts the truth, irrespective of who it comes from, as they know the source of truth is none other than Allah, the Exalted. Instead of looking down on others, they look at others with the eye of mercy and compassion and support this with sincere actions, all the while hoping Allah, the Exalted, will look upon them with mercy and compassion. They understand that one will be treated by Allah, the Exalted, according to how they treat others. This has been indicated in a narration found in Sahih Bukhari, number 7376. In a narration found in Sahih Muslim, number 3257, the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, warned against asking too many questions, as this led to the destruction of the past nations. Muslims should instead do what they have been commanded, according to their capacity, and refrain from what they have been prohibited from. Muslims should not adopt this mentality, as people who have a habit of asking too many questions often fail in fulfilling their duties and from acquiring beneficial knowledge, as they are too busy asking and researching about less important and sometimes irrelevant information. This mentality can inspire a person to argue and debate over these types of issues also. Unfortunately, this attitude is quite widespread amongst Muslims today, as they often argue about non-obligatory and less important issues, instead of concentrating on fulfilling their obligatory duties and the established traditions of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, correctly, meaning fulfilling them with their full etiquettes and conditions. A Muslim should instead research and query about topics which are relevant and important to understand for both worldly and religious matters, otherwise they will follow in the footsteps of the people mentioned in this narration and only make their own lives more difficult. In respect to one's faith, relevance is determined by deciding whether learning something will increase their sincere obedience to Allah, the Exalted. If it will not, then they should not waste their time researching and learning this piece of knowledge. In respect to one's worldly life, relevance is determined by deciding whether learning something will help one fulfill their worldly duties, such as their duties at work. If it will not, then they should not waste their time researching and learning this piece of knowledge. Finally, one must ensure they avoid the mentality mentioned in the main narration, especially when they study Islamic teachings, as one can easily turn what should be a means of sincerely obeying Allah, the Exalted, in every aspect of one's life, to an academic study on Islam which has no practical effects on their life and behavior. The latter attitude can easily be adopted when one persists on researching and learning about knowledge which will not increase their sincere obedience to Allah, the Exalted. This is easily identified as the knowledge which Allah, the Exalted, has not spoken about in the Holy Quran, nor what has been discussed by the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, in his narrations. All religious knowledge not discussed in these two sources of guidance is irrelevant and therefore not needed to guide one to peace and success in both worlds. If it was needed, it would have been discussed in these two sources of guidance. Therefore, any religious knowledge rooted in the two sources of guidance is relevant and must be researched and acted on. All other religious knowledge should be avoided. In a narration found in Jamia Tirmizi, number 1337, the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, warned that the one who offers bribes and the one who takes bribes are both cursed. A curse involves the removal of the mercy of Allah, the Exalted. When this occurs, true lasting peace and success in both worldly and religious matters is not possible. Whatever worldly success one obtains, such as wealth, through a bribe, will become a source of great difficulty, stress and punishment in both worlds, unless one sincerely repents. As the bribe is unlawful, any good deed which it is used on will be rejected and recorded as a sin. Even if the bribe taker somehow manages to fulfill their obligations towards Allah, the Exalted, their sins against people may well lead them to destruction on Judgment Day. This has been warned in a narration found in Sahih Muslim, number 6579. In addition, without the mercy of Allah, the Exalted, the three aspects of faith are simply not possible to fulfill correctly, namely, fulfilling the commands of Allah, the Exalted, refraining from His prohibitions and facing destiny with patience. Unfortunately, in this day and age the major sin of bribery has become very common in all parts of the world. The only difference is that in third world countries it is done openly and in more developed countries, secretly. In most cases, bribery involves a person offering gifts to influential people, such as a judge, in order to gain something which is not theirs. The only time a bribe will not be recorded as a sin is when one is forced to offer a bribe in order to recover their own property. The curse in this case is on the one who takes the bribe. It is important to note, if Muslims as a whole desire to eliminate bribery and other corrupt practices, then they must avoid them themselves. Only when this correct attitude is adopted on an individual level will it affect those in social and political positions of influence. The reason these people act in this way is because they observed the society as a whole acting on corrupt practices themselves. But if society, on an individual level, rejected these practices, no person in a position of social or political influence would dare act in this way, as they know the people would not stand for it. In a narration found in Sunan Abu Dawood, number 5116, the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, clearly warned that nobility does not lie in one's lineage, as all people are the descendants of the Holy Prophet Adam, peace be upon him, and he was made from dust. He concluded that people should give up boasting about their relatives and lineage. It is important to understand that even though some ignorant Muslims have adopted the attitude of other nations by creating castes and sects, thereby believing some people are superior to others based on these groups, Islam declared a simple criterion for superiority, namely, piety, meaning, the more a Muslim fulfills the commands of Allah, the Exalted, refrains from his prohibitions and faces destiny with patience according to the traditions of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, the greater they are in rank in the sight of Allah, the Exalted. Chapter 49 Al-Hujurat, verse 13.
Indeed, the most noble of you in the sight of Allah is the most righteous of you.
This verse destroys all other standards which have been created by ignorant people, such as one's race, ethnicity, wealth, gender or social status. In addition, if a Muslim is proud of a pious person in their lineage, they should correctly demonstrate this belief by praising Allah, the Exalted, and following in their footsteps. Boasting about others without following in their footsteps will not help someone in either this world or the next. This has been made clear in a narration found in Jami' at-Tirmidhi, number 2945. Finally, the one who is proud of others but fails to follow in their footsteps is indirectly dishonoring them, as the outside world will observe their bad character and assume their righteous ancestor behaved in the same manner. These people should therefore strive harder in the obedience of Allah, the Exalted, because of this reason. These are like those people who adopt the outward traditions and advice of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, such as growing a beard or wearing a scarf, yet fail to adopt his inner noble character. The outside world will only think negatively about the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, when they observe the bad character of these Muslims. Finally, remembering the origins of mankind will prevent one from adopting pride, an atom's worth of which is enough to take one to hell. This has been warned in a narration found in Sahih Muslim, number 265. Pride only encourages one to look down on others, even though everything good they possess was created and granted by Allah, the Exalted. Pride will also encourage one to reject the truth, when it does not originate from them. Therefore, pride in anything, such as one's pious ancestor, must be avoided at all costs. In a narration found in Sunan Ibn Majah number 3371, the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, warned that a Muslim must never consume alcohol, as it is the key to all evil. Unfortunately, this major sin has increased amongst the Muslims over time. This is the key to all evil as it gives rise to other sins. This is quite obvious as a drunk loses control over their tongue and physical actions. One only needs to look at the news to observe how much crime is committed due to drinking alcohol. Even those who drink moderately only cause damage to their bodies, which science has proven. The physical and mental diseases associated with alcohol are numerous and cause a heavy burden on the National Health Service and the taxpayers. It is the key to all evil as it negatively affects all three aspects of a person, their body, mind and soul. It destroys the relationships between people, as alcohol negatively affects one's behavior. For example, there is a clear correlation between alcohol consumption and domestic violence. Chapter 5 Al-Madah, verse 90.
O you who have believed, indeed, intoxicants, gambling, sacrificing on stone altars to other than Allah, and divining arrows, are but defilement from the work of Satan. So avoid it that you may be successful.
The fact that drinking alcohol has been placed next to things which are associated with polytheism in this verse, highlights how important it is to avoid. It is such a serious sin that the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, warned in a narration found in Sunan ibn Majah, number 3376, that the one who drinks alcohol regularly will not enter paradise. Spreading the Islamic greeting of peace is a key to obtaining paradise according to a narration found in Sunan ibn Majah, number 68. Nonetheless, a narration found in Imam Bukhari's Adab al-Mufrad, number 1017, advises Muslims not to greet someone who regularly drinks alcohol. Alcohol is a unique major sin as it has been cursed in 10 different ways in a single narration found in Sunan ibn Majah, number 3380. These include the alcohol itself, the one who produces it, the one it is produced for, the one who sells it, the one who buys it, the one who carries it, the one to whom it is carried to, the one who uses the wealth obtained through selling it, the one who drinks it and the one who pours it. The one who deals with something that has been cursed like this will not obtain true success unless they sincerely repent. Even though breaking alcohol addiction is difficult, nonetheless, one must strive hard to avoid all the things which will tempt them towards it, such as bad friends. They must utilize all the help available to them, such as counseling sessions. They must never forget that Allah, the Exalted, does not burden a person with a duty they cannot complete. Chapter 2 Al-Baqarah, verse 286.
Allah does not charge a soul except with that within its capacity.
These things will aid them in turning away from this major sin for good. In a narration found in Sahih Bukhari, number 3267, the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, warned that the one who contradicts their own advice when commanding good and forbidding evil will be punished in hell. Instead of following in the footsteps of the righteous predecessors by advising only for the sake of Allah, the Exalted, many people advise for other reasons, such as to gain popularity. For example, some scholars often strive to be in the spotlight of gatherings and events and are not pleased with a seat which is to one side, as they desire a central seat. When their intention became like this, Allah, the Exalted, removed the positive effect of their advice and thus they now have little positive influence over their listeners. They should have shown a practical example instead of saying one thing and doing another. This caused their advice to become ineffective. Chapter 2 Al-Baqarah, verse 44.
Do you order righteousness of the people and forget yourselves while you recite the scripture? Then will you not reason?
Muslims should strive to always act on their own advice before commanding others to do so, as behaving in this manner is hated by Allah, the Exalted. Chapter 61 As-Saf, verse 3.
Great is hatred in the sight of Allah, that you say what you do not do.
This does not mean one must become perfect before advising others, as this is not possible. Instead, They should correct their intention and prove this through their actions by striving to act on their own advice before advising others. Only with this attitude will they avoid the punishment mentioned in this narration. The failure in acting on this principle has caused the advice of Muslims to become ineffective, even though the number of advisors has dramatically increased over the years. In a narration found in Sunan ibn Majah, number 4210, the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, warned that envy destroys good deeds just like fire consumes wood. Envy is a serious and major sin because the envier's problem is not with another person. In reality, their problem is with Allah, the Exalted, as He is the one who granted the blessing which is envied. So a person's envy only demonstrates their displeasure with the allocation and choice of Allah, the Exalted. They believe Allah, the Exalted, made a mistake when He allocated a particular blessing to another person instead of them. Some exert efforts through their speech and actions in order to confiscate the blessing from the envied person, which is undoubtedly a sin. The worst kind is when the envier strives to remove the blessing from the owner even if the envier does not obtain the blessing themselves. Envy is only lawful when a person does not act on their feelings, dislikes their feelings and strives to obtain a similar blessing without the owner losing their blessing. Even though this type is not a sin, it is disliked if the envy is over a worldly blessing and praiseworthy if it is over a religious blessing. For example, the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, mentioned two examples of the praiseworthy type in a narration found in Sahih Muslim, number 1896. The first person who can be lawfully envied is the one who acquires and spends lawful wealth in ways pleasing to Allah, the Exalted. The second person who can be lawfully envied is the one who uses their knowledge in the correct way and teaches it to others. An envious Muslim should strive to remove this feeling from their heart by showing good character and kindness towards the person envied, such as praising their good qualities and supplicating for them, until their envy becomes love for them. They must never let their envy prevent them fulfilling the rights of others. According to the teachings of Islam, a Muslim must always remember that Allah, the Exalted, always allocates blessings according to His infinite knowledge and wisdom, meaning, He gives each person what is best for them. Chapter 2 Al-Baqarah, verse 216.
But perhaps you hate a thing and it is good for you, and perhaps you love a thing and it is bad for you. And Allah knows, while you know not.
Therefore, instead of envying others, one must busy themselves in using the blessings they have been granted by Allah, the Exalted, in ways pleasing to Him. This will lead to an increase in blessings, as this attitude is showing gratitude to Allah, the Exalted. Chapter 14 Ibrahim, verse 7.
And remember when your Lord proclaimed, "If you are grateful, I will surely increase you in favor."
In addition, this will lead to peace of mind, which the persistent envier never obtains. Chapter 16 An-Nahl, verse 97.
Whoever does righteousness, whether male or female, while he is a believer, we will surely cause him to live a good life, and we will surely give them their reward in the hereafter, according to the best of what they used to do.
In a narration found in Jami' at-Tirmizi, number 1954, the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, advised that whoever is not grateful to people cannot be grateful to Allah, the Exalted. Even though there is no doubt that the source of all blessings is none other than Allah, the Exalted, nonetheless, showing gratitude to people is an important aspect of Islam. This is because Allah, the Exalted, sometimes uses a person as a means to help others, such as one's parents. As the means has been created and used by Allah, the Exalted, being grateful to them is in fact being grateful to Allah, the Exalted. Therefore, Muslims must show good character and always show appreciation for any aid or support they receive from others irrespective of its size. They should show gratitude to Allah, the Exalted, by using the blessing according to his commands, as he is the source of the blessing, and they must show gratitude to the person who helped them, as they are the means which was created and chosen by Allah, the Exalted. A Muslim should show gratitude verbally to people and practically by repaying their act of kindness, according to their means, even if it is only a supplication on their behalf. This has been advised in a narration found in Imam Bukhari's Adab al-Mufrad, number 216. The one who does not show gratitude to the outward manifestation of the help of Allah, the Exalted, meaning, a person, will less likely show it directly to Allah, the Exalted. The person who does not show gratitude to people cannot show true gratitude to Allah, the Exalted, and therefore they will not be given an increase in blessings. Chapter 14 Ibrahim, verse 7.
And remember when your Lord proclaimed, "If you are grateful, I will surely increase you in favor."
If a Muslim desires an increase in blessings, they must fulfill both aspects of gratitude, namely, to Allah, the Exalted, and to people. In a narration found in Sunan Abu Dawood, number 4815, the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, advised that people must fulfill the rights of the public road when they meet up in public. The first thing advised in this narration is that Muslims should lower their gaze and not look at things which are unlawful to them. In fact, one should protect each organ of their body, such as their tongue and ears, in the same way. This is achieved when one avoids the things which do not concern them. The next thing advised in this narration is that they should keep their harm away from others. This includes both harm in the form of speech, such as foul language and backbiting, and harm caused through physical actions. In fact, a person cannot be a true believer and Muslim until they keep their physical and verbal harm away from people and their possessions. This has been confirmed in a narration found in Sunan an-Nasai, number 4998. A Muslim should instead assist others in public, according to their means. If they cannot do this, then the least they can do is keep their physical and verbal harm away from others. The next thing mentioned in the main narration under discussion is that one should return the Islamic greeting of peace to others. This includes initiating the Islamic greeting of peace through one's words and showing peace to others in one's actions and other speech. It is pure hypocrisy to extend peace to others through one's words and then harm them through their actions and other speech. Finally, the main narration under discussion advises Muslims to command good and forbid evil. This should be carried out according to the three levels discussed in a narration found in Jami' at-Tirmizi, number 2172. The highest level is to do it with one's actions, within the bounds of Islam. The next level is to do it with one's words, and the lowest level is to do it with one's heart, meaning, secretly. This duty must always be fulfilled according to Islamic knowledge and in a gentle way. Where possible, this should be done privately in order to avoid embarrassing others, as this can often cause one to reject good advice. This should also be done at the appropriate time. For example, after an angry person has calmed down, as good advice at the wrong time is often ineffective. Often Muslims advise the correct thing, but as they do it in a harsh way, they only drive people further away from the obedience of Allah, the Exalted. It is therefore vital to combine correct knowledge with kind behavior so that the good advice affects others in a positive way. Chapter 3 Ali Imran, verse 159.
So by mercy from Allah, O Muhammad, you were lenient with them. And if you had been rude in speech and harsh in heart, they would have disbanded from about you.
As these characteristics are difficult to adopt and implement publicly, one should choose the safer option and minimize socializing with others in public, as it often leads to more harm than good. To conclude, it is important to note that a Muslim should adopt and show these characteristics towards all people, irrespective of their faith. In a narration found in Sunan Abu Dawood, number 4993, the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, advised that thinking well about people is an aspect of worshipping Allah, the Exalted, correctly, meaning it is an aspect of obeying Allah, the Exalted. Interpreting things in a negative way often leads to sins, such as backbiting and slander. A Muslim should interpret things where possible in a positive way in order to give the benefit of the doubt to others. Unfortunately, adopting a negative mindset affects people from a family unit to a national level. For example, how many times has a nation gone to war over an assumption and suspicion? The vast majority of scandals which are found in the media are based on assumptions. Even laws have been created which support the use of assumptions and suspicion. This often leads to fractured and broken relationships, as people with this mindset always believe others are taking a dig at them through their words or actions. This prevents one from taking advice from others, as they believe they are only being mocked by the one giving advice, and it prevents one from giving advice as they believe the other person will not pay any attention to what they say. And a person will refrain from advising the one who possesses this negative mindset, as they believe it will only lead to an argument. This leads to other negative traits, such as bitterness. It is important for Muslims to understand that even if they assume someone is taking a dig at them, they should still accept their advice if it is based on the Holy Quran and the traditions of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. Always interpreting things negatively also gives rise to a powerful mental illness, namely paranoia. The one who adopts paranoia will always suspect others of bad things. This can be extremely destructive to relationships, such as marriages. One should strive to interpret things where possible in a positive way, which leads to a positive mentality, and a positive mindset leads to healthy relationships, feelings and unity. Whereas, always interpreting things in a negative way encourages one to always think and act negatively towards others, even when their behavior is good. This only prevents one from fulfilling the rights of others, something which has been commanded by Allah, the Exalted. Chapter 49 Al-Hujurat, verse 12.
O you who have believed, avoid much negative assumption. Indeed, some assumption is sin.
In a narration found in Sahih Muslim, number 6551, the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, advised that the Muslim who visits a sick person is in an orchard of paradise until they return. The first thing to note is that this narration includes visiting any sick person, irrespective of their faith. Even though this is undoubtedly a great deed, it is important for a Muslim to firstly perform this righteous deed solely for the pleasure of Allah, the Exalted. If they do it for any other reason, such as to show off to people, they will not gain reward from Allah, the Exalted. In addition, they should fulfill the etiquettes and conditions of visiting the sick, according to the teachings of Islam, in order to obtain their reward. In this day and age, it is easy to contact the sick and their family beforehand in order to ensure they visit them at the appropriate time, as a sick person will be resting throughout the day and this will minimize the disruption caused to their family. They should not stay long thereby, causing trouble to the sick person and their relatives. They should control their actions and speech so that they avoid all types of sins such as gossiping, backbiting and slandering others. They should encourage the sick to be patient and discuss the rewards associated with it, and generally discuss beneficial matters in respect to the world and the hereafter. If a person is told to return at another time by the sick person or their household, a Muslim must accept this without holding any grudges, as this has specifically been commanded by Allah, the Exalted. Chapter 24 An-Nur, verse 28.
And if it is said to you, go back, then go back. It is purer for you. And Allah is knowing of what you do.
Only when one behaves in this manner will they obtain the reward outlined in the narrations of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. If they fail in this, they will either gain no reward or they may well be left with sins, depending on how they behaved. Unfortunately, many Muslims enjoy performing this righteous deed but fail to fulfill its conditions correctly. Chapter 4 An-Nisa, verse 114.
No good is there in much of their private conversation, except for those who enjoin charity, or that which is right, or conciliation between people. And whoever does that seeking means to the approval of Allah, then we are going to give him a great reward.
In a narration found in Sahih Bukhari, number 52, the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, advised that if one's spiritual heart is sound, the whole body will become sound, but if their spiritual heart is corrupt, then the whole body will become corrupt. First of all, this narration refutes the foolish belief where one claims to have a purified heart even though their speech and actions are bad. This is because what is inside will eventually manifest outwardly. The purification of the spiritual heart is only possible when one eliminates evil characteristics from themselves and replaces them with good characteristics discussed in Islamic teachings. This is only possible when one learns an ACTS on Islamic teachings so that they can sincerely fulfill the commands of Allah, the Exalted, refrain from His prohibitions, and face destiny with patience according to the traditions of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. Behaving in this manner will lead to a purified spiritual heart. This purification will then reflect in the outward limbs of the body, such as one's tongue and eyes. Meaning, they will only use their blessings in ways pleasing to Allah, the Exalted. This is in fact a sign showing the love Allah, the Exalted, has for His righteous servant, according to a narration found in Sahih Bukhari, number 6502. It is important to note that this purification will guide one through all worldly difficulties successfully so that they achieve peace and success in both worldly and religious matters. Chapter 16 and now, verse 97.
Whoever does righteousness, whether male or female, while he is a believer, we will surely cause him to live a good life, and we will surely give them their reward in the hereafter according to the best of what they used to do.
On the other hand, when one abandons learning and acting on Islamic knowledge, they will adopt the bad characteristics which are advocated by society, social media, culture and fashion. These bad characteristics will encourage them to misuse the blessings they have been granted. This in turn leads to stress and difficulties in both worlds. Chapter 20 Taha, verses 124 to 126.
And whoever turns away from my remembrance, indeed he will have a depressed, i.e. difficult life, and we will gather, i.e. raise him on the day of resurrection blind. He will say, My Lord, why have you raised me blind while I was once seeing? Allah will say, Thus did our signs come to you, and you forgot, i.e. disregarded them, and thus will you this day be forgotten.
And chapter 26 Ash-Shu'ara, verses 88 to 89.
The day when there will not benefit anyone wealth or children, but only one who comes to Allah with a sound heart.
In a narration found in Sunan Abu Dawood, number 4992, the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, indicated that speaking about everything one hears to others is enough to make them sinful. It is important to note, one should firstly ensure they only listen to lawful speech, as actively participating in a conversation which involves sinful speech will negatively affect them in both worlds. A Muslim should try to avoid conversations involving vain and useless speech, as this often leads to sinful speech and is a waste of one's precious time, which will be a great regret for them on Judgment Day, especially when they observe the reward given to those who utilize their time correctly. Secondly, they should ensure that they do not relate everything they hear to others, as this can easily lead to backbiting and slandering, which are major sins. It also often leads to fractured and broken relationships, especially amongst relatives, as negative feelings are generated in the hearts of people when they hear things that were not intended for them. A Muslim should only relate things they hear if they can avoid sins and if the information is beneficial to others. In addition, the information they pass on must be verified and authentic, as conveying things which are not verified contradicts the command of the Holy Quran. A Muslim who intends to benefit people may well harm them by acting in this manner. Chapter 49 Al-Hujurat, verse 6.
O you who have believed, If there comes to you a disobedient one with information, investigate, lest you harm a people out of ignorance and become, over what you have done, regretful.
One must instead control their speech so that they only speak good or remain silent, as vain and sinful speech only leads to stress and trouble in both worlds. One must adopt good company in order to avoid listening to vain or sinful speech. This would also prevent them from passing on vain or sinful speech to a third party. To conclude, just like a Muslim would not like most of the things they discuss to be spread to others, they should not treat what others say in this manner either. In a narration found in Sahih Bukhari, number 6032, the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, warned that the worst people on the Day of Judgment are those who are avoided because of their evil behavior. This is the one who possesses bad character, especially towards people. They negatively affect others through their speech, such as using vulgar language, and harm them through their actions, such as physical violence and intimidation. As good character will be the heaviest thing in the scales of Judgment Day, according to a narration found in Jami' at-Tirmizi, number 2003, one can judge how significant bad character will be. Evil behavior completely contradicts the characteristic of a true Muslim and believer, according to a narration found in Sunan an-Nasai, number 4998. It advises that a true Muslim and believer keeps their verbal and physical harm away from the self and possessions of others. A Muslim should understand the importance of fulfilling both aspects of faith. The first is to show good character towards Allah, the Exalted, by sincerely fulfilling His commands, refraining from His prohibitions, and by facing destiny with patience according to the traditions of Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. This will ensure they use every blessing they have been granted in ways pleasing to Allah, the Exalted. This in turn leads to peace and success in both worlds. Chapter 16 and now, verse 97.
Whoever does righteousness, whether male or female, while he is a believer, we will surely cause him to live a good life, and we will surely give them their reward in the hereafter according to the best of what they used to do.
The other aspect of faith is to show good character to others by practically loving for others what one loves for themselves. This is a characteristic of a true believer, according to a narration found in Jami' at-Tirmizi, number 2515. This undoubtedly includes treating others kindly, just like one would like people to treat them with kindness and respect. Finally, a Muslim must always avoid wronging others through their speech or actions. Justice will be established on Judgment Day, whereby an oppressor will be forced to hand over their good deeds to their victims, and if necessary, the oppressor will be given the sins of their victims. This may cause the oppressor to be hurled into hell. This has been warned in a narration found in Sahih Muslim, number 6579. This makes it clear that evil behavior leads to loneliness in this world, as no decent person desires to befriend such an evil person, and it leads to trouble and stress in both worlds. In a divine narration found in Sahih Bukhari, number 1145, the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, advised that Allah, the Exalted, descends every night to the nearest heaven according to His infinite majesty, and invites people to ask Him to fulfill their needs so that He can fulfill them. Voluntary nighttime worship proves one's sincerity towards Allah, the Exalted, as no other eyes are watching them. Offering it is a means to having an intimate conversation with Allah, the Exalted, and it is a sign of one's servanthood to Him. It has countless virtues. For example, a narration found in Sunan an-Nasai, number 1614, advises that it is the best voluntary prayer. No one will have a rank higher on Judgment Day or in paradise than the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, and this rank has been directly connected to the voluntary night prayer. This shows that those who establish the night voluntary prayer will be blessed with the highest ranks in both worlds. Chapter 17 Al-Isra, verse 79.
And from part of the night, pray with it, i.e., recitation of the Quran as additional worship for you. It is expected that your Lord will resurrect you to a praise station.
A narration found in Jami' at-Tirmidhi, number 3579, advises that a Muslim is closest to Allah, the Exalted, in the last part of the night. Therefore, one can derive countless blessings if they remember Allah, the Exalted, at this time. All Muslims desire their supplications to be answered, and their needs to be fulfilled. Therefore, they should strive to offer the voluntary night prayer, as a narration found in Sahih Muslim, number 1770, advises that there is a special hour in every night when good supplications are always answered. Establishing the voluntary night prayer is an excellent way to prevent one from committing sins. It helps a person to stay away from pointless social gatherings, and it protects a person from many physical illnesses. This has been advised in a narration found in Jami' at-Tirmidhi, number 3549. One should prepare for the voluntary night prayer by not overeating or drinking, especially before bed, as it induces laziness. One should not unnecessarily tire themselves out during the day. A short nap during the day can help with this. Finally, one should avoid sins and strive to obey Allah, the Exalted, by fulfilling His commands, refraining from His prohibitions, and by facing destiny with patience according to the traditions of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, as the obedient find it easier to offer the voluntary night prayer. Finally, the main narration also indicates the importance of never giving up hope, as the door to repentance and success is always open. People are given opportunity every day and night to return to sincerely obeying Allah, the Exalted, so that they can find peace and success in both worlds. One should appreciate the great mercy Allah, the Exalted, shows, as He is not in need of the creation, yet invites them to Himself so that they can succeed. One must take these opportunities before their time runs out, and they are left with nothing except regrets. In a narration found in Sunan Ibn Majah, number 1601, the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, advised that the one who consoles a grief-stricken person will be clothed with a garment of honor on Judgment Day. As facing difficulties are guaranteed for all, this is an extremely simple way of obtaining a great reward which does not require much time, energy or money. This includes striving to aid the family facing a difficulty according to one's means, such as emotional, financial, and physical support. A Muslim must gently encourage those facing difficulties to remain patient throughout the ordeal, and remind them of the verses of the Holy Quran and narrations of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, which discuss the importance and great reward of being patient. They should speak positively by reminding them that things only occur for a good reason, even if people fail to understand the wisdom behind them. In reality, a person does not need to be a scholar to perform this righteous deed, as in most cases a few kind words of support are enough to make someone facing difficulties feel better. And in some cases just physically being there is enough to provide them with the feeling of support, even if no words are spoken. This attitude is easily adopted when one simply treats others how they desire to be treated by people. Finally, it is important Muslims correct their intention when performing this righteous deed, meaning, do it for the sake of Allah, the Exalted, and not do it in order to show off to others, such as their relatives, nor do it out of fear of being criticized by others if they fail to do it. Those who act for the sake of others will be told on Judgment Day to gain their reward from those they acted for, which will not be possible. This has been warned in a narration found in Jami' at-Tirmidhi, number 3154. In a narration found in Sahih Bukhari, number 5705, the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, advised that 70,000 Muslims will enter paradise without reckoning and described their characteristics. The first characteristic is that they do not treat themselves with spiritual incantations. This is when one recites words connected to the Holy Quran or the narrations of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, and blows over themselves or others in order to treat a sickness or problem. This method is completely lawful according to many narrations, such as the one found in Sahih Bukhari, number 5741. The unlawful type is when one uses satanic words. Even though lawful incantations are permissible, unfortunately, some Muslims become so engrossed and attached to them that they depend and trust more in them than they trust in Allah, the Exalted. Meaning, they almost behave they will only become cured if they do an incantation, as if the power to heal lies in it. This belief contradicts true trust in Allah, the Exalted, as in reality, the source of everything is Allah, the Exalted, alone. He only chooses to cure some people through means, such as conventional medicine or incantations. A Muslim should never rely so much on incantations, believing without them a successful outcome is not possible. This is similar to the one who recites spiritual exercises, believing if they fail to do so, they will not be protected from illness and misfortune, or they believe they can somehow change one's destiny, which is completely untrue. Allah, the Exalted, protects people, and He can do so with or without spiritual exercises. Meaning, He is not dependent on anything to achieve something. One must instead sincerely obey Allah, the Exalted, by using the means He has provided them, such as medicine, according to Islamic teachings, and rely on Allah, the Exalted, to choose the best outcome for them in every situation. No other has any control in deciding what occurs and should therefore not be feared. Chapter 9 at Tawbah, verse 51.
Say, never will we be struck except by what Allah has decreed for us. He is our protector. And upon Allah let the believers rely.
In addition, engrossing oneself in spiritual incantations often leads to a worse illness than they originally feared, namely, paranoia. Paranoia causes one to think negatively about Allah, the Exalted, and people. This only leads to weakness of faith and damaging one's relationships with others. In addition, the primary goal of Islamic teachings is the practical obedience of Allah, the Exalted, not performing incantations. A Muslim can use lawful incantations, but it is best to understand that the source of help is Allah, the Exalted, and nothing can prevent His help nor aid them if He decides something else for them. Another issue with depending too much on spiritual exercises, such as incantations, is that when these people face difficulties, instead of firstly observing themselves and their behavior, to see if they need to change it for the better, and to remain steadfast on the obedience of Allah, the Exalted, patiently waiting for relief, they turn to uneducated and inexperienced people who claim to fix worldly things through spiritual exercises. As indicated earlier, these people only cause a Muslim to adopt an illness which is far worse than their initial problem, namely, paranoia. They convince Muslims that their problems have either been caused by supernatural creatures, such as jinns, or by black magic which someone has used against them. Even though jinns do exist, it is very rare for them to affect people in their worldly matters. This causes Muslims to become severely paranoid and superstitious over petty things, and it even causes them to grow suspicious over their friends and relatives. This only leads to enmity and fractured relationships. It is important for Muslims to strengthen their faith through gaining and acting on Islamic knowledge. This will prevent them from turning to such foolish people who cannot even fix their own problems, let alone fix the problems of others. Strong faith will prevent paranoia affecting them, as they will rely fully on Allah, the Exalted. Strong faith makes a Muslim understand that even if the entire creation desired to harm them, they will not be able to do so unless Allah, the Exalted, allowed it. Similarly, the entire creation could not benefit them unless Allah, the Exalted, willed it. And every case and situation only occurs according to a set and unchangeable plan, namely, destiny. This has been advised throughout Islamic teachings, such as the far-reaching narration found in Jami' at-Tirmidhi, number 2516. Finally, engrossing oneself in spiritual exercises not rooted in Islamic teachings also encourages one to treat the treasury of Allah, the Exalted, like a shop where one buys worldly things from Allah, the Exalted, in exchange for some spiritual exercises. This is a highly disrespectful and insincere attitude to adopt, as the Holy Quran and the traditions of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, are not credit cards which can be used to purchase worldly things such as a child or a visa. One must instead know their place and behave as a sincere slave of Allah, the Exalted, and not act as a customer. They should sincerely obey him by using the blessings he has granted them in ways pleasing to him. One is allowed to ask for lawful worldly things from Allah, the Exalted, in a way endorsed by the Holy Quran and the traditions of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, but must avoid other ways, as it leads to misusing the two sources of guidance and adopting a customer-type attitude towards Allah, the Exalted. To conclude, a Muslim should fulfill the primary goal of Islamic teachings by fulfilling the commands of Allah, the Exalted, refraining from his prohibitions, and face destiny with patience according to the traditions of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, and then rely on Allah, the Exalted, to aid them in all situations. The next characteristic mentioned in the main narration under discussion is that these Muslims do not believe or are influenced by omens. A narration found in Imam Bukhari's Adab al-Mufrad, number 909, warns against paying attention to bad omens, as behaving in this manner is like associating something to Allah, the Exalted, meaning polytheism. Paying attention to evil omens means that it affects one's behavior and actions. Even though black magic and the evil eye are real, it is important to understand that nothing in the universe from the fluttering of a leaf to the sun rising occurs without the choice and will of Allah, the Exalted. Therefore, a Muslim should remain steadfast by not bothering with evil omens or fearing witches and wizards, as they cannot cause something which Allah, the Exalted, has not willed from occurring. Instead, one should remain steadfast on the obedience of Allah, the Exalted, by using the blessings they have been granted in ways pleasing to Him, and continue with their lawful actions and choices, and only seek protection from evil things according to the traditions of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, while fully trusting in the support and overpowering choice and decree of Allah, the Exalted. In a narration found in Jami' at-Tirmidhi, number 1931, the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, advised that whoever protects the honor of another Muslim will be protected from hellfire by Allah, the Exalted. Just like a Muslim would desire others to protect their honor in their presence or absence, they should protect the honor of others in their presence or absence also. In fact, loving for others what one desires for themselves is the characteristic of a true believer, according to a narration found in Jami' at-Tirmidhi, number 2515. A Muslim should protect the honor of others when anyone else speaks ill about them, such as backbiting or slander, irrespective of if what they are saying is true or not. This is an aspect of concealing the faults of others and leads to Allah, the Exalted, concealing their faults in both worlds. This is advised in a narration found in Sunan Ibn near Majah, number 225. Behaving in such a manner is a clear proof of one's love for others for the sake of Allah, the Exalted, which is a characteristic which leads to paradise, according to a narration found in Jami' at-Tirmidhi, number 2688. The main narration under discussion clearly shows that a Muslim benefits from supporting others, so even if they are too preoccupied from caring about others, they should at least act in this manner for their own sake. This reality applies to all good deeds, such as charity. One only benefits themselves through the reward they gain when they perform good deeds. Allah, the Exalted, has no need for anyone to obey Him, and the needy will be provided for, one way or another. Allah, the Exalted, only gives opportunities to people to gain reward by helping others. In addition, the one who fails to defend the honor of others when they have the opportunity and strength to do so, without fear of harm, should fear that Allah, the Exalted, will not protect their honor in a time and place where it is being violated by others, and especially on the day of resurrection. Finally, as the main narration under discussion advises protecting the honor of others, it indirectly indicates the importance of not violating the honor of others. This is in fact the very sign of a true Muslim and believer, according to a narration found in Sunan and Nasai, number 4998. Specifically, it advises that a true Muslim and believer keeps their verbal and physical harm away from the self and possessions of others. In a narration found in Sahih Bukhari, number 12, the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, advised a good quality found within Islam. Namely, to spread the Islamic greeting of peace to people one knows and to those they do not know. It is important to act on this good characteristic, as nowadays Muslims often only spread the Islamic greeting of peace to those they know. It is important to spread it to all, as this leads to love between people and strengthens Islam. In fact, this characteristic leads to paradise, according to a narration found in Sahih Muslim, number 194. One must avoid the bad habit of only shaking hands with other Muslims, without extending the Islamic greeting of peace to them. The verbal greeting of peace is more important than only shaking hands. A Muslim should never forget that they will receive a minimum of 10 rewards for every greeting of peace they extend to others, even if others fail to reply to them. This has been advised in a narration found in Sunan Abu Dawud, number 5195. Finally, a Muslim should fulfill the Islamic greeting of peace correctly by demonstrating this peace in their other speech and actions towards others, by keeping their verbal and physical harm away from people and their possessions. This is in fact the definition of a true Muslim and believer, according to a narration found in Sunan an-Nasai, number 4998. It is hypocritical for someone to extend the greeting of peace to someone, and then harm them through their speech and actions. In fact, this attitude defies the purpose of extending the greeting of peace to others. In a narration found in Sunan Ib, near Marjar, number 4119, the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, advised that the best people are those who remind others of Allah, the Exalted, when they are observed. This does not refer to those who adopt an Islamic outward appearance, such as growing a beard or wearing a scarf, as many of these people do not remind others of Allah, the Exalted, at all. This narration refers to those who learn and act on Islamic knowledge so that they sincerely obey Allah, the Exalted, by fulfilling His commands, refraining from His prohibitions, and by facing destiny with patience according to traditions of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. This leads to the purification of one's heart, which leads to the purification of their outward limbs. This has been advised in a narration found in Sunan Ib, near Marjar, number 3984. This will cause others to remember Allah, the Exalted, when they observe the actions of these righteous Muslims, as they use the blessings they have been granted in ways pleasing to Allah, the Exalted, instead of in ways pleasing to themselves and others. And this remembrance will only increase when these righteous Muslims speak, as they only speak in ways pleasing to Allah, the Exalted, meaning they avoid evil and vain speech and only speak on beneficial matters in respect to the world and the hereafter. They love, dislike, give and withhold only for the sake of Allah, the Exalted. This leads to perfecting one's faith, according to a narration found in Sunan Abu Dawud, number 4681. In a narration found in Jami' at-Tirmidhi, number 2482, the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, advised that all lawful spending gains reward from Allah, the Exalted, except the wealth which is spent on construction. This includes all spending on lawful things which is free from excessiveness, waste or extravagance. Spending on construction which is necessary is not included in this narration, but the construction which is beyond one's needs is. This is disliked as spending on construction easily leads to waste and extravagance. In addition, the one who spends wealth on construction is less likely to donate charity and spend in ways pleasing to Allah, the Exalted. Also, this behavior often encourages a Muslim to adopt hopes for a long life, as the one who believes their stay in this world is extremely short will not waste energy and wealth on constructing a beautiful home. The greater one's hope for a long life, the less righteous deeds they will perform, believing they can always perform good deeds in the future. It also causes one to delay sincere repentance, believing they can always change for the better in the future. Finally, it causes one to dedicate more efforts to the world, in order to create a more comfortable life for their supposed long stay in this world. Actively taking part in unnecessary construction occupies one's time, which prevents them from performing voluntary righteous deeds, such as fasting and the voluntary night prayer, out of extreme fatigue. It also prevents them from striving to gain and act on Islamic knowledge. Finally, in reality, taking part in unnecessary construction never ends. Meaning, the moment a person completes one part of their home, they move to the next until the cycle repeats itself. Therefore, Muslims should adhere to what is within their necessity in respect to all things, not just construction, so that they can avoid these negative consequences. In a narration found in Jami' at-Tirmidhi, number 1952, the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, advised that the most virtuous gift a parent can give their child is to teach them good character. This narration reminds Muslims to be more concerned about the faith of their relatives, such as their children, over acquiring and imparting wealth and properties to them. It is important to understand, worldly legacies come and go. How many rich and powerful people have built massive empires, only for them to be torn apart and forgotten shortly after their death? The few signs left behind from some of these legacies only endure in order to warn people not to follow in their footsteps. An example is the great empire of Pharaoh. Unfortunately, many Muslims are so concerned about teaching their children how to build an empire and acquire much wealth and properties, that they neglect teaching them the sincere obedience of Allah, the Exalted, which involves fulfilling His commands, refraining from His prohibitions, and facing destiny with patience according to the traditions of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. This includes good manners towards Allah, the Exalted, and the creation. A Muslim should not be fooled into believing they have plenty of time for teaching their children good manners, as their moment of death is unknown and often pounces on people unexpectedly. In addition, it is extremely difficult to teach good manners to children when they get older and become set in their ways. If one fails to teach their child good manners, then they will only become a source of stress for them in both worlds. The best way a parent can teach their child good manners is by leading by example. They must learn and act on the teachings of Islam, and become a practical role model for their child to follow. Today is the day a Muslim should truly reflect on the gift they wish to impart to their children and relatives. This is how a Muslim sends forward good to the hereafter, but also leaves good behind, as a righteous child which supplicates for their deceased parent benefits them. This has been confirmed in a narration found in Jami' at-Tirmidhi, number 1376. It is hoped that the one who is surrounded by good in this way will be forgiven by Allah, the Exalted. In a narration found in Jami' at-Tirmidhi, number 2612, the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, advised that the one who possesses complete faith is the one who is best in conduct and most kind to their family. Unfortunately, some have adopted the bad habit of treating non-relatives in a kind manner while mistreating their own family. They behave in this manner, as they do not understand the importance of treating one's own family kindly, and as they fail to appreciate their family. A Muslim will never achieve success until they fulfill both aspects of faith. The first is fulfilling their duties towards Allah, the Exalted, by fulfilling His commands, refraining from His prohibitions, and by facing destiny with patience according to the traditions of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. This will ensure they use all the blessings they have been granted in ways pleasing to Allah, the Exalted. The second is to fulfill the rights of people, which includes treating them kindly. None have more right to this kind treatment than one's own family. A Muslim must aid their family in all matters which are good, and warn them against bad things and practices in a gentle way, according to the teachings of Islam. They should not blindly support them in bad things simply because they are their relatives, nor should they fail to help them in good matters because of some ill feelings towards them, as this contradicts Islamic teachings. Chapter 5 Al-Ma'idah, verse 2.
And cooperate in righteousness and piety, but do not cooperate in sin and aggression.
The best way to guide others is through a practical example, as this is the tradition of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, and is much more effective than just verbal guidance. One must learn the rights they are owed and the rights they owe others, especially their relatives, to ensure they fulfill them. A Muslim must always remember that Allah, the Exalted, will ask each person whether they fulfilled the rights of others. He will not ask them if people fulfilled their rights. Therefore, one must be concerned about what they will be questioned about, meaning the rights of others, and therefore strive to fulfill them according to the teachings of Islam. Finally, one should generally choose gentleness in all matters, especially when dealing with their family. Even if they commit sins, they should be warned in a gentle manner, and still be aided in matters which are good, as this kindness is more effective in bringing them back to the obedience of Allah, the Exalted, than treating them harshly. In a narration found in Sunan Abu Dawood, number 2866, the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, advised that giving charity during one's lifetime is 100 times better than giving it when they reach their deathbed. This is important to understand, as many Muslims foolishly believe they can either hoard their wealth or spend it in ways pleasing to their own desires instead of in ways pleasing to Allah, the Exalted. And when they reach their deathbeds, they will then donate large amounts of wealth. First of all, as warned in this narration, a Muslim will lose most their reward behaving in this manner. This is because they have realized that they are departing from this world, and their precious wealth has now become insignificant and useless to them, as they cannot take it with them. Giving something useless to Allah, the Exalted, is not the characteristic of a true Muslim. In fact, it contradicts true belief and piety. Chapter 3 Ali Imran, verse 92.
Never will you attain the good reward until you spend in the way of Allah from that which you love.
A Muslim should therefore be kind to themselves and spend in ways which are pleasing to Allah, the Exalted, which includes spending on their own necessities and the necessities of their dependents without waste, excessiveness or extravagance. They should not wait for their last moment, as this might come unexpectedly, and spending at this time will not be so fruitful for them anyway. In a narration found in Sahih Bukhari, number 67, the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, declared that the blood, property and honor of a Muslim are sacred in Islam. This narration, like many others, teaches Muslims that success can only be obtained when one fulfills the rights of Allah, the Exalted, such as the obligatory prayers and the rights of people. One without the other is not good enough. Justice will be established on Judgment Day, whereby an oppressor will be forced to hand over their good deeds to their victims, and if necessary, the oppressor will be given the sins of their victims. This may cause the oppressor to be hurled into hell. This has been warned in a narration found in Sahih Muslim, number 6579. A true believer and Muslim is the one who keeps their verbal and physical harm away from the self and possessions of others. This is confirmed in a narration found in Sunan and Nasai, number 4998. Therefore, it is vital for Muslims not to harm others through their actions or words. A Muslim must respect the possessions of others and not try to wrongfully acquire them, for example, in a legal case. A narration found in Sahih Muslim, number 353, warns that someone who does this will go to hell, even if the thing they acquired was as insignificant as a twig of a tree. Muslims should only use the possessions of others according to their wishes, and return them in a way pleasing to its owner. One should treat the possessions of others in a way they want people to treat their own possessions. The honor of a Muslim should not be violated through actions or speech, such as backbiting or slander. A Muslim should instead defend the honor of others, whether in their presence or absence, as this will lead to their protection from the fire of hell. This has been advised in a narration found in Jami' at-Tirmidhi, number 1931. One should only speak about others in a way they wish others to speak about them. One should therefore speak good or remain silent. To conclude, one should avoid wronging the self, possessions or honor of others by treating others exactly how they desire others to treat them. Just like one loves this for themselves, they should love it for others and prove this through their actions and speech. This is the sign of a true believer, according to a narration found in Jami' at-Tirmidhi, number 2515. In a narration found in Sahih Bukhari, number 528, the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, advised that the 5 obligatory prayers erase one's sins just like taking a bath 5 times a day would clean the body from dirt. The first thing to note is that this narration refers to minor sins only, as major sins require sincere repentance. Sincere repentance involves feeling remorse, seeking the forgiveness of Allah, the Exalted, and those who have been wronged, as long as this does not lead to further problems, promising not to commit the same or similar sin again, and making up for any rights which have been violated in respect to Allah, the Exalted, and people. In addition, it is important for Muslims to not only purify their outer beings of minor sins by establishing the 5 obligatory prayers, but also fulfill the other aspect of purification, namely, inner purification. This is indicated by the fact that the 5 obligatory prayers were spread across the day, instead of being put together. Meaning, a Muslim should repeatedly inwardly turn to Allah, the Exalted, throughout the day, just like their body turns to Allah, the Exalted, 5 times a day, through the obligatory prayers. This inner purification involves correcting one's intention, so that they only perform actions in order to please Allah, the Exalted. This is the foundation of Islam and is what Allah, the Exalted, assesses when judging an action. This has been confirmed in a narration found in Sahih Bukhari, number 1. Those who act for the sake of other people will be told to gain their reward from them on Judgment Day, which will not be possible. This has been warned in a narration found in Jami' at-Tirmidhi, number 3154. Finally, this inner purification includes learning and acting on the teachings of Islam, so that one removes the bad characteristics they possess, such as envy, and instead adopts good characteristics, such as patience. The outer purification is important, but if a Muslim desires to achieve success and overcome all difficulties in both worlds, they must purify their inner being as well as their outer being. Inner purification will ensure one speaks and acts in the correct way. It will ensure they use every blessing they have been granted in ways pleasing to Allah, the Exalted, as outlined in the Holy Quran and the traditions of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. It will ensure they fulfill the rights of Allah, the Exalted, and people. This leads to peace of mind and success in both worlds. Chapter 16 and now, verse 97.
Whoever does righteousness, whether male or female, while he is a believer, we will surely cause him to live a good life, and we will surely give them their reward in the hereafter according to the best of what they used to do.
On the other hand, avoiding inner purification will prevent one from using the blessings they have been granted in ways pleasing to Allah, the Exalted, even if they fulfill the basic obligatory duties of Islam. It will hinder them from fulfilling all the rights of Allah, the Exalted, and especially the rights of people. This will lead to a difficult and stressful life in both worlds. Chapter 20 Taha, verse 124.
And whoever turns away from my remembrance, indeed he will have a depressed, i.e. difficult life.
In a narration found in Sahih Bukhari, number 103, the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, warned that whoever has their deeds scrutinized by Allah, the Exalted, on Judgment Day will be punished. It is important for Muslims to understand that even though enjoying the lawful pleasures of this material world are not prohibited, they often lead to the unlawful. For example, vain speech is usually the first step before sinful speech. In addition, the more one indulges in unnecessary lawful things, the longer their accountability will be on Judgment Day. One should bear in mind that Judgment Day will be a difficult day. For example, the sun will be brought within 2 miles of the creation. This has been confirmed in a narration found in Jami' at-Tirmidhi, number 2421. While one waits for their accounting and during their final judgment, hell will be face to face with them. Therefore, the longer one's accounting, the more stress they will endure. Even though a Muslim may be forgiven and saved by Allah, the Exalted, but nonetheless, the longer their accountability, the greater stress they will endure. Seeing as Judgment Day will be 50,000 years long, according to the Holy Quran, it does not make sense to enjoy a few decades of lawful pleasures, if it means one will face a difficult accountability on a day which will last so long. Chapter 70 Al-Ma'areh, verse 4.
During a day the extent of which is 50,000 years.
It is therefore best to lead a simple life, in order to minimize one's accountability on the Day of Judgment. It is one of the reasons why the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, advised in a narration found in Sunan Ib near Marjar, number 4118, that simplicity is a part of faith. It is a simple life which will cause the poorer Muslims to enter paradise 500 years before the rich Muslims, as their accounting will be less. This has been confirmed in a narration found in Sunan Ib near Marjar, number 4122. Seeing as people do not generally live for more than 80 years, does it make sense to live an indulgent life if it leads to a delay in entering paradise by 500 years? This assuming, of course, one enters paradise directly without being punished in hell first. A Muslim must always remember that the more they indulge in lawful worldly things, the more they will face stress in this world, the more it will distract them from preparing for the hereafter, which involves using the blessings they have been granted in ways pleasing to Allah, the Exalted, and the harder their accountability will be on Judgment Day. Whereas, the one who leads a simple life, whereby they obtain and utilize worldly things according to their necessities and responsibilities without waste, excessiveness and extravagance, will obtain peace of mind and body, and they will be encouraged to prepare practically for the Day of Judgment, which leads to an easier final accounting. It does not take a scholar to determine which path is best. In a narration found in Sunan Abu Dawood, number 4297, the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, warned that a day would soon come when other nations would attack the Muslim nation, and even though they would be great in number, they would be deemed insignificant by the world. Allah, the Exalted, would remove the fear of Muslims from the hearts of the other nations. This would occur because of the Muslim nations' love for the material world and their hatred for death. The companions, may Allah be pleased with them, were small in number, yet they overcame entire nations, whereas the Muslims today are greater in number, yet have no social or political influence in the world. This is because the companions, may Allah be pleased with them, lived their lives according to the teachings of Islam, thereby favoring and preparing for the hereafter over enjoying the lawful pleasures of this world. They used the blessings they were granted in ways pleasing to Allah, the Exalted. Whereas, most of the Muslims today have adopted the opposite mindset. It is important to understand that the root of all sins is the love of the material world. This is because any sin which is committed is done out of love and desire for it. The material world can be split into four aspects: fame, fortune, authority, and one's social life, such as their relatives and friends. It is in the excess pursuit of these things which lead to sins, such as earning unlawful wealth out of love for fortune. It is why a narration found in Jami at-Tirmidhi, number 2376, warns that love for wealth and authority is more destructive to one's faith than the destruction two hungry wolves would cause if they were let loose on a herd of sheep. Whenever people seek the excess of these aspects of the material world, it always leads to disobedience of Allah, the Exalted. When this occurs, the mercy of Allah, the Exalted, is removed, which leads to nothing but trouble. Even though some Muslims believe pursuing the excess things of the material world is harmless, it is something the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, warned against in many narrations, such as the one found in Sahih Bukhari, number 3158. He warned that he did not fear poverty for Muslims. What he feared was that Muslims would pursue the excess of this material world, such as excess wealth, and this would cause them to compete with each other over it, and this would lead to their destruction. As warned in this narration, this was the behavior of the past nations. As the material world is limited, it is obvious that people would have to compete over it if they desired more than their necessities. This competition would cause them to adopt the characteristics which contradict the character of a true Muslim, such as envy and enmity for others. They would stop caring for each other, as they are too busy competing in gathering and hoarding the material world. And they would contradict the advice given in a narration found in Sahih Bukhari, number 6011, which advises that Muslims should act like one body. When any part of the body suffers from an illness, the rest of the body shares in the pain. This competition would drive a Muslim to stop loving for others what they love for themselves, which is a characteristic of a true believer, according to a narration found in Jami' at-Tirmidhi, number 2515, as they desire to outdo their fellow Muslims in worldly things. Persisting on this competition will cause a Muslim to love, hate, give and withhold all for the sake of the material world, instead of for the sake of Allah, the Exalted, which is an aspect of perfecting one's faith, according to a narration found in Sunan Abu Dawud, number 4681. This competition is the difference between the companions, may Allah be pleased with them, and many of the Muslims today. This attitude would prevent the Muslims from using the blessings they have been granted in ways pleasing to Allah, the Exalted. This would cause them to lose the support of Allah, the Exalted, which opens the door for their enemies to overpower them. If Muslims desire to regain the strength and influence Islam once had, they must strive and prioritize preparing for the hereafter over striving for obtaining, enjoying and hoarding the excess of this material world. This must occur from an individual level, until it affects the whole nation. In a narration found in Jami' at-Tirmidhi, number 2376, the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, warned that craving for wealth and status is more destructive to one's faith than the destruction caused by two hungry wolves which are set free on a herd of sheep. This shows that hardly any of a Muslim's faith remains secure if they crave after wealth and fame in this world, just as hardly any of the sheep will be saved from two hungry wolves. So this great similitude contains a severe warning against the evil of craving after excess wealth and social status in the world. The first type of craving for wealth is when one has extreme love for wealth and strives without fatigue to acquire it through lawful means. To behave in such a manner is not the sign of a wise person, as a Muslim should firmly believe their provision is guaranteed to them, and this allotment can never change. In fact, the provision of the creation was allocated over 50,000 years before the creation of the heavens and the earth. This is confirmed in a narration found in Sahih Muslim, number 6748. This person will undoubtedly neglect their duties and responsibilities, as they are too preoccupied with obtaining wealth. A body which is too busy acquiring wealth will never prepare adequately for the hereafter, which involves using the blessings one has been granted in ways pleasing to Allah, the Exalted. In fact, this person will dedicate so much effort to acquiring more wealth, that they may not even get a chance to enjoy it. Instead, they will depart this world and leave it behind for other people to enjoy, even though they will be held accountable for it. This person may acquire wealth lawfully, but they will still not find peace of mind, as no matter how much they obtain, they will only desire more. This person is needy and therefore a real pauper, even if they possess much wealth. As striving for more wealth involves opening more worldly doors and preoccupations, the more they strive to increase their wealth, the less peace of mind and body they will obtain. And the more they will misuse the blessings they have been granted in their pursuit of their fortune. Only the one who forgets Allah, the Exalted, misuses the blessings they have been granted by Him. Chapter 20 Taha, verse 124.
And whoever turns away from my remembrance, indeed he will have a depressed, i.e. difficult life, and we will gather, i.e. raise him on the day of resurrection blind.
The only craving which is beneficial is craving for accumulating true wealth, namely, righteous deeds, in order to prepare for one's day of return. The second type of craving for wealth is similar to the first type, but in addition to it, this type of person acquires wealth through unlawful means and fails to fulfill the rights of people, such as the obligatory charity. The Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, has warned against this in many narrations. For example, in a narration found in Sahih Muslim, number 6576, he warned that this attitude destroyed the past nations as they made unlawful things lawful, withheld the rights of others, and killed others for the sake of excess wealth. This person strives for the wealth they are not entitled to, which leads to countless major sins. When one adopts this attitude, they become intensely greedy. As warned by the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, in a narration found in Jami' at-Tirmidhi, number 1961, the greedy person is far from Allah, the Exalted, far from paradise, far from people, and close to hell. In fact, a narration found in Sunan and Nasai, number 3114, warns that extreme greed and true faith will never combine in the heart of a true Muslim. If a Muslim adopts this type of craving, then the extreme danger of it is clear even to an uneducated Muslim. It will destroy their faith until nothing except a little remains. Just like the main narration under discussion warns, this destruction to one's faith is more severe than the destruction caused by two hungry wolves which are let loose on a herd of sheep. This Muslim risks losing the little faith they possess at the moment of their death, which is the greatest loss. A person's craving for fame and status is arguably more destructive to one's faith than craving for excess wealth. A person will often spend their beloved wealth on obtaining fame and social status. It is rare for someone to obtain status and fame, and still remain firm on the correct path whereby they prioritize the hereafter over the material world. In fact, a narration found in Sahih Bukhari, number 6723, warns that a person who seeks status in society, such as leadership, will be left to deal with it themselves, but if someone receives it without asking for it, they will be aided by Allah, the Exalted, in remaining obedient to Him. This is the reason the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, would not appoint a person who requested to be appointed in a position of authority, or even showed desire for it. This is confirmed in a narration found in Sahih Bukhari, number 6923. Another narration found in Sahih Bukhari, number 7148, warns that people will be keen to obtain status and authority, but it will be a great regret for them on the Day of Judgment. This is a dangerous craving, as it forces one to strive intensely to obtain it, and then strive further in order to hold on to it, even if it encourages them to commit oppression and other sins. The worst type of craving for status is when one obtains this through religion. The Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, has warned in a narration found in Jami' at-Tirmidhi, number 2654, that this person will go to hell. Therefore, it is safer for a Muslim to avoid the craving for excess wealth and high social status, as they are two things which can lead to the destruction of their faith by distracting them from preparing adequately for the hereafter, which involves using the blessings one has been granted in ways pleasing to Allah, the Exalted, as outlined in the Holy Quran and the traditions of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. In a narration found in Sahih Bukhari, number 6412, the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, warned that there are two blessings people often do not appreciate until they lose them, namely, good health and free time. Good health is a special blessing, as it allows a person to take advantage of gaining other blessings related to the world and religion. One of the wisdoms behind minor illnesses is that they should inspire a Muslim to be grateful for good health. True gratitude is when one uses the blessings they possess, in this case good health, in the correct way as prescribed by Islam. One should observe those who have lost their good health, either through sickness or through aging, and therefore make use of the good health they possess by striving to gain success in worldly and religious matters, while giving priority to religion over the material world. For example, one should use their good health to journey to the mosques in order to offer their prayers with congregation before a time comes when they desire to do this, but do not possess the physical strength to do so. They should keep voluntary fasts, especially during the short days of winter, before they lose their good health. They should strive to offer the voluntary night prayer regularly, as it is the best voluntary prayer, according to a narration found in Sunan and Nasai, number 1614. The amazing thing about utilizing one's health correctly is that when they eventually lose it, Allah, the Exalted, will continue to grant them the same reward they used to receive when doing good deeds during their good health. This has been advised in a narration found in Imam Bukhari's Adab al-Mufrad, number 500. But those who live in heedlessness will fail to utilize their good health, and therefore receive no reward during their good health or when they fall sick. One aspect of appreciating and showing true gratitude for good health is to help those who have lost their good health according to one's means, such as emotional or financial help. It is important to regularly ponder over the sick, as this will inspire one to use their good health correctly. Finally, those who utilize their good health correctly will be supported by Allah, the Exalted, during their periods of sickness. Whereas, those who do not, will not receive this support, and will therefore become impatient when facing sickness. This negative attitude will only lead to further trouble for them, and cause them to lose out on much reward. Everything in this material can be bought, even through illegal means, except time. It is the single blessing which does not return after it leaves a person. Even though this reality is not denied by anyone irrespective of their faith yet, many Muslims do not appreciate and make good use of the time they have been given. Many have adopted the mentality that they will prepare for the hereafter tomorrow. But as each day passes, this tomorrow keeps getting delayed until, in many cases, this tomorrow never comes. And they only realize this tomorrow when it is too late, meaning, at the time of their death. Those who are fortunate enough to reach this tomorrow during their lives may inhabit the mosques when they reach elderly age, but as they have dedicated so much time and energy to the material world, their bodies might be in mosques yet. Their hearts and tongues are still engrossed in the material world. This is obvious to those who regularly attend mosques. These Muslims are unlikely to learn and act on Islamic teachings because of their elderly age and their worldly mentalities. So they may attend the mosques, yet continue to misuse the blessings they have been granted. In addition, with the passing of time, in most cases, one's responsibilities only increase, such as marriage and raising children. So delaying preparing for the hereafter until one is supposedly more free is simply foolish. Islam does not teach Muslims to abandon the world, but it does encourage them to make correct use of their time by taking enough from the material world in order to fulfill their necessities and responsibilities without extravagance or waste, and then dedicate the rest of their efforts to preparing for the permanent hereafter. They should minimize using their time on sinful and vain things, things which will not benefit them in this world or the next, and dedicate more of their time and resources to those things which will benefit them in both worlds. This is how one uses their time correctly. How many Muslims can honestly say they dedicate the majority of their efforts to preparing for the eternal hereafter over beautifying their temporal world? In a long divine narration found in Sahih Bukhari, number 7405, Allah, the Exalted, advises Muslims on some important things. The first is that Allah, the Exalted, acts and treats His servant according to their perception of Him. This means if a Muslim has good thoughts and expects good from Allah, the Exalted, He in turn will not disappoint them. Similarly, if a person harbors negative thoughts about Allah, the Exalted, such as believing they will not be forgiven, then Allah, the Exalted, may act according to their belief. It is important to note, there is a vast difference between true hope in Allah, the Exalted, which this narration refers to, and wishful thinking. Wishful thinking is when one fails to strive in the obedience of Allah, the Exalted, by fulfilling His commands, refraining from His prohibitions, and by facing destiny with patience according to the traditions of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, thereby misusing the blessings they have been granted, and still expects Allah, the Exalted, to forgive them and grant them mercy in both worlds. This is not true hope, it is merely wishful thinking. This is like a farmer who fails to plant any seeds, fails to water their crop, and still hopes to reap a large harvest. True hope is when one strives to obey Allah, the Exalted, and whenever they slip up, they sincerely repent and then hope for the mercy and forgiveness of Allah, the Exalted. This is like a farmer who plants seeds, waters their crop, dedicates effort to keeping the crop healthy, and then hopes for a large harvest. The Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, has summarized this explanation in a narration found in Jami at-Tirmidhi, number 2459. Generally speaking, a Muslim should harbor more fear of Allah, the Exalted, during their life, as it prevents sins, which is superior to hope, which inspires one to perform righteous deeds, especially the voluntary type. But during periods of illness and difficulty, and especially at the time of death, a Muslim should have nothing but hope in the mercy of Allah, the Exalted, even if they have spent their life disobeying Him, as this has specifically been commanded by the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, in a narration found in Sahih Muslim, number 2877. The next thing mentioned in the main narration under discussion is that Allah, the Exalted, declares that He is with anyone who remembers Him. With the rise of mental problems and disorders, such as depression, it is vital for Muslims to understand the importance of this declaration. There is a small chance of a person experiencing a mental issue when they are constantly surrounded and aided by someone that truly loves them. If this is true for a person, it is undoubtedly more befitting for Allah, the Exalted, who has promised to be with the one who remembers Him. Acting on this declaration alone would eliminate mental issues, such as depression. It is the reason why being secluded from others or being amongst others did not affect the mental state of the righteous predecessors, as they were always in the company of Allah, the Exalted. It is obvious that when one obtains the company of Allah, the Exalted, they will overcome all obstacles and difficulties successfully until they reach His proximity in the hereafter. In addition, out of His infinite mercy, Allah, the Exalted, has not restricted this declaration in any way. For example, He did not declare He was only with the righteous or with those who perform specific good deeds. He, in fact, encompassed every Muslim irrespective of the strength of their faith or how many sins they have committed. Therefore, a Muslim should never lose hope in the mercy of Allah, the Exalted. But it is important to note the condition mentioned in this narration, namely, to remember Allah, the Exalted. This remembrance includes correcting one's intention so that they only act to please Allah, the Exalted, and therefore do not expect nor hope for any gratitude from people. Remembrance with the tongue involves speaking what is good or remaining silent. And the highest level of remembrance is to use the blessings one has been granted in ways pleasing to Allah, the Exalted, as outlined in the Holy Quran and the traditions of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. This is the true remembrance of Allah, the Exalted. The one who behaves in such a manner will be blessed with the company and support of Allah, the Exalted. Simply put, the more one obeys and remembers Allah, the Exalted, the more they will receive His company. What one gives is what they shall receive. The next thing mentioned in the main narration under discussion is that whoever remembers Allah, the Exalted, privately will be remembered by Him privately. And whoever remembers Allah, the Exalted, publicly, meaning in a gathering, will be remembered by Allah, the Exalted, in a better gathering, meaning amongst the heavenly angels. This, like many other examples found within the Holy Quran and the narrations of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, indicates a basic teaching of Islam, namely, what one gives is what they shall receive. Another example, which confirms this narration, is found in chapter 2 Al-Baqarah, verse 152.
So remember me, I will remember you.
A narration found in Jami' at-Tirmidhi, number 1924, advises that the one who shows mercy to the creation will be shown mercy by the Creator. Generally speaking, in this material world a person receives things according to their efforts. Yet strangely, some expect to obtain the high ranks of paradise without any effort. These teachings clearly show that a Muslim will receive blessings and mercy based on their efforts. The more obedient they are to Allah, the Exalted, as outlined earlier, the more they will receive in return. There is no doubt that Allah, the Exalted, can give whatever He wants to whomever He wants, irrespective of how much or little they strive in His obedience, but Allah, the Exalted, has set up a system which must be followed, namely, striving in His obedience in order to obtain more blessings and mercy. Therefore, each Muslim must reflect and decide how much mercy and blessings of Allah, the Exalted, they desire, and then strive in the obedience of Allah, the Exalted, accordingly. This reality is clearly described in the final part of this narration, where Allah, the Exalted, indicates that the more one strives in achieving His proximity, through his sincere obedience, the more of His mercy they shall receive. A narration found in Sahih Muslim, number 6541, discusses some aspects of creating unity within society. The Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, firstly advised Muslims not to envy each other. This is when a person desires to obtain the very blessing someone else possesses, meaning they desire for the owner to lose the blessing. And it involves disliking the fact that the owner was given the blessing by Allah, the Exalted, instead of them. Some only desire this to occur in their hearts without showing it through their actions or speech. If they dislike their thoughts and feelings, it is hoped that they will not be held accountable for their envy. Some exert efforts through their speech and actions in order to confiscate the blessing from the other person, which is undoubtedly a sin. The worst kind is when a person strives to remove the blessing from the owner, even if the envier does not obtain the blessing. Envy is only lawful when a person does not act on their feelings, dislikes their feelings, and instead strives to obtain a similar blessing without the owner losing the blessing they possess. Even though this type is not sinful yet, it is disliked if the envy is over a worldly blessing, and only praiseworthy if it involves a religious blessing. For example, the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, mentioned two examples of the praiseworthy type in a narration found in Sahih Muslim, number 1896. The first is when a person envies the one who acquires and spends lawful wealth in ways pleasing to Allah, the Exalted. The second is when a person envies the one who uses their wisdom and knowledge in the correct way, and teaches it to others. The evil type of envy, as mentioned earlier, directly challenges the choice of Allah, the Exalted. The envious person behaves as if Allah, the Exalted, made a mistake giving a particular blessing to someone else instead of them. This is why it is a major sin. In fact, as warned by the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, in a narration found in Sunan Abu Dawud, number 4903, envy destroys good deeds just like fire consumes wood. An envious Muslim must strive to act on the narration found in Jami' at-Tirmidhi, number 2515. It advises that a person cannot be a true believer until they love for others what they love for themselves. An envious Muslim should therefore strive to remove this feeling from their heart by showing good character and kindness towards the person they envy, such as praising their good qualities and supplicating for them until their envy becomes love for them. They should continue to fulfill the rights of the person they envy, according to the teachings of Islam. They should learn and act on Islamic knowledge in order to understand that Allah, the Exalted, grants the best thing to each person, and if a particular worldly blessing has not been granted to them, it means that it is better for them not to have it. Chapter 2 Al-Baqarah, verse 216.
But perhaps you hate a thing and it is good for you, and perhaps you love a thing and it is bad for you. And Allah knows while you know not.
Another thing advised in the main narration quoted at the beginning is that Muslims should not hate each other. This means one should only dislike something if Allah, the Exalted, dislikes it. This has been described as an aspect of perfecting one's faith in a narration found in Sunan Abu Dawud, number 4681. A Muslim should therefore not dislike things or people according to their own desires. If one dislikes another according to their own desires, they should never allow it to affect their speech or actions, as it is sinful. A Muslim should strive to remove the feeling by treating the other according to the teachings of Islam, meaning with respect and kindness. A Muslim should remember that other people are not perfect, just like they are not perfect. And if others possess a bad characteristic, they will undoubtedly possess good qualities also. Therefore, a Muslim should advise others to abandon their bad characteristics, but continue to love the good qualities they possess. A Muslim must dislike sins but not the person, as a person can always repent to Allah, the Exalted. They must show their dislike of sins within the boundaries of Islam. They should gently advise others against bad things, as being harsh often pushes further away from turning back to Allah, the Exalted. Another point must be made on this topic. A Muslim who follows a particular scholar who advocates a specific belief should not act like a fanatic, and believe their scholar is always right, thereby hating those who oppose their scholar's opinion. This behavior is not disliking someone for the sake of Allah, the Exalted. As long as there is a legitimate difference of opinion amongst the scholars, a Muslim following a particular scholar should respect this, and not dislike others who differ from what the scholar they follow believes. The next thing mentioned in the main narration under discussion is that Muslims should not turn away from each other. This means they should not sever ties with other Muslims over worldly issues, thereby refusing to support them according to the teachings of Islam. According to a narration found in Sahih Bukhari, number 6077, it is unlawful for a Muslim to sever ties with another Muslim over a worldly issue for more than 3 days. In fact, the one who severs ties for more than a year over a worldly issue is considered like the one who has killed another Muslim. This has been warned in a narration found in Sunan Abu Dawud, number 4915. Severing ties with others is only lawful in matters of faith. But even then, a Muslim should continue to advise the other Muslim to sincerely repent, and only avoid their company if they refuse to change for the better. They should still support them on lawful things when they are requested to do so, as this act of kindness may inspire them to sincerely repent from their sins. Another thing mentioned in the main narration under discussion is that Muslims are commanded to be like brothers to one another. This is only achievable if they obey the previous advice given in this narration and strive to fulfill their duty towards other Muslims according to the teachings of Islam, such as helping others in matters of good and warning them from evil matters. Chapter 5 Al-Ma'idah, verse 2.
And cooperate in righteousness and piety, but do not cooperate in sin and aggression.
A narration found in Sahih Bukhari, number 1240, advises that a Muslim should fulfill the following rights of other Muslims. They are to return the Islamic greeting of peace, to visit the sick, to take part in their funeral prayers, and to reply to the sneezer who praises Allah, the Exalted. A Muslim must learn and fulfill all the rights other people, especially other Muslims, have over them, as each person will be asked whether they fulfilled the rights of other people on Judgment Day. One must treat others in a way they wish to be treated by people. Another thing mentioned in the main narration under discussion is that a Muslim should not wrong, forsake, or hate another Muslim. The sins a person commits should be hated, but the sinner should not be, as they may sincerely repent at any time. The Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, has warned in a narration found in Sunan Abu Dawud, number 4884, that whoever humiliates another Muslim, Allah, the Exalted, will humiliate them. And whoever protects a Muslim from humiliation will be protected by Allah, the Exalted. The negative characteristics mentioned in the main narration, quoted at the beginning, can develop when one adopts pride. According to a narration found in Sahih Muslim, number 265, pride is when one looks down on others in contempt. The proud person sees themselves as perfect while seeing others as imperfect. This prevents them from fulfilling the rights of others, and encourages them to dislike others. And pride encourages one to reject the truth when it is presented to them, as it did not come from them and contradicts their desires. Another thing mentioned in the main narration is that true piety is not in one's physical appearance, such as wearing Islamic clothes, but it is an internal characteristic. This internal characteristic manifests outwardly in the form of fulfilling the commands of Allah, the Exalted, refraining from His prohibitions, and by facing destiny with patience according to the traditions of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. This ensures one uses the blessings they have been granted in ways pleasing to Allah, the Exalted. This is why the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, has declared in a narration found in Sahih Muslim, number 4094, that when the spiritual heart is purified, the whole body becomes purified, but when the spiritual heart is corrupt, the whole body becomes corrupt. It is important to note that Allah, the Exalted, does not judge based on outward appearances, such as wealth, but He considers the intentions and actions of people. This is confirmed in a narration found in Sahih Muslim, number 6542. Therefore, a Muslim must strive to adopt internal piety through learning and acting on the teachings of Islam, so that it manifests outwardly in the way they interact with Allah, the Exalted, and the creation. The next thing mentioned in the main narration under discussion is that it is a sin for a Muslim to hate another Muslim. This hatred applies to worldly things and not disliking others for the sake of Allah, the Exalted. In fact, loving and hating for the sake of Allah, the Exalted, is an aspect of perfecting one's faith. This is confirmed in a narration found in Sunan Abu Dawood, number 4681. But even then, a Muslim must show respect to others in all cases and dislike only their sins without actually hating the person. In addition, their dislike must never cause them to act against the teachings of Islam, as this would prove their hatred is based on their own desires and not for the sake of Allah, the Exalted. The root cause of despising others for worldly reasons is pride. It is vital to understand that an atom's worth of pride is enough to take one to hell. This is confirmed in a narration found in Sahih Muslim, number 265. The next thing mentioned in the main narration is that a Muslim's life, property and honor are all sacred. A Muslim must not violate any of these rights. In fact, the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, has declared in a narration found in Sunan an-Nasai, number 4998, that a person cannot be a true Muslim until they protect other people, including non-Muslims, from their harmful speech and actions. And a true believer is the one who keeps their evil away from the lives and property of others. Whoever violates these rights will not be forgiven by Allah, the Exalted, until their victim forgives them first. If they do not, justice will be established on Judgment Day, whereby the good deeds of the oppressor will be given to the victim, and if necessary, the sins of the victim will be given to the oppressor. This may cause the oppressor to be hurled into hell. This is warned in a narration found in Sahih Muslim, number 6579. To conclude, a Muslim should treat others exactly how they want people to treat them. This will lead to much blessings for an individual and create unity within their society. In a narration found in Sahih Bukhari, number 6514, the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, warned that two things abandon a deceased at their grave and only one thing remains with them. The two things which abandon them are their family and wealth, and the only thing which remains with them are their deeds. Throughout history, people have always concentrated the majority of their efforts to obtaining wealth and a happy family. Even though Islam does not prohibit these things, as they may be required to fulfill one's responsibilities and duties. Islam only discourages Muslims from striving for these things beyond their needs, and in cases when these things prevent one from using the blessings they have been granted in ways pleasing to Allah, the Exalted. One must strive to obtain the needed wealth to fulfill their responsibilities according to the teachings of Islam, and obtain a family which will encourage them to prepare for the hereafter. These are both considered good deeds when utilized in such a manner. This is confirmed in a narration found in Sahih Bukhari, number 6373. This is the sign of an intelligent person who gives priority to the thing which will endure and support them in their moment of need, namely, righteous deeds. On the other hand, the one who allows their wealth and relatives to prevent them from using the blessings they have been granted in ways pleasing to Allah, the Exalted, are described as losers in the Holy Quran. Chapter 63 Al-Munafiqun, verse 9.
O you who have believed, let not your wealth and your children divert you from the remembrance of Allah. And whoever does that, then those are the losers.
Some may incorrectly believe they are close to Allah, the Exalted, as He has bestowed them with great wealth and family. But Allah, the Exalted, clears their confusion by declaring that the one who is dearer and nearer to Him are those who believe and perform righteous deeds. Chapter 34 Saba, verse 37.
And it is not your wealth or your children that bring you nearer to us in position, but it is by being one who has believed and done righteousness.
In another place of the Holy Quran, Allah, the Exalted, warns mankind that their wealth and relatives will not benefit them in the hereafter unless they reach the hereafter with a sound heart. Chapter 26 Ash-Shu'ara, verses 88 to 89.
The day when there will not benefit anyone wealth or children, but only one who comes to Allah with a sound heart.
The definition of the sound heart is lengthy, but simply put, one cannot obtain it until they sincerely fulfill the commands of Allah, the Exalted, refrain from His prohibitions and face destiny with patience according to the traditions of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. This will ensure they adopt positive characteristics and eliminate negative characteristics. The one who possesses good character will fulfill the rights of Allah, the Exalted, and people, by using the blessings they have been granted in ways pleasing to Allah, the Exalted. The one who behaves in this manner possesses a sound spiritual heart and body. In addition, one's wealth can only benefit them in the hereafter if they send it ahead of them by spending it on ongoing charity projects. This is confirmed by the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, in a narration found in Jami' at-Tirmidhi, number 1376. The same narration informs mankind that a righteous child praying for the forgiveness of their deceased parent will be accepted also. Unfortunately, in this day and age, many children are too busy seeking their inheritance to supplicate for their deceased parents. It is important to understand that raising a righteous child who supplicates for their deceased parent is not possible to achieve if the parents do not perform righteous deeds themselves during their lives, i.e. leading by example. Secondly, it is not the way of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, or his companions, may Allah be pleased with them all, to abstain from performing righteous deeds and hope others will pray for them after they depart from this world. One should strive for righteous deeds while they are alive, and then hope others will pray for them after they pass away. It is important to understand that only the wealth one sends forward to hereafter will benefit them. This involves spending one's wealth in ways pleasing to Allah, the Exalted, such as spending on fulfilling one's responsibilities and duties, such as the education of their children. All wealth spent on vain or sinful things will become a source of stress for the owner and may well lead to their punishment in both worlds. Those who withhold the obligatory charity out of greed have been warned of dreadful punishments. For example, a narration found in Sahih Bukhari, number 1403, warns that a person who commits this grave sin on the Day of Judgment will encounter a huge poisonous snake which will wrap around them and bite them continuously. Chapter 3 Ali Imran, verse 180.
And let not those who greedily withhold what Allah has given them of His bounty ever think that it is better for them. Rather, it is worse for them. Their necks will be encircled by what they withheld on the day of resurrection.
A narration found in Sunan Abu Dawud, number 1658, warns that on the Day of Judgment the gold and silver a person owned will be heated up in the flames of hell, and their bodies will be branded with it, if they failed to donate the obligatory charity due on it. Furthermore, any wealth left behind by the deceased will be left to others to enjoy, while the deceased is held accountable for collecting it. It is important to note, if a person knowingly leaves wealth to someone who is not fit to possess it and thus misuses it, then the deceased may well be held accountable for this also. Conversely, if one leaves wealth behind to someone who spends it correctly, then the deceased will face much regret on the Day of Judgment when they observe the great reward given to the one who spent it correctly. The Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, made it clear in a narration found in Sahih Muslim, number 7420, that a person can only use their wealth in three ways. The first is the wealth which is spent on their food. The second is the wealth spent on their clothes, and the final wealth is what they spent in ways pleasing to Allah, the Exalted. All other wealth is left behind for other people to enjoy, while the deceased is held accountable for collecting it. Hoarding and incorrectly spending wealth inspires one to love the material world and dislike the hereafter, as they dislike leaving their beloved wealth behind, which will occur when they die. The one who dislikes the hereafter will not adequately prepare for it, meaning they will not use the blessings they have been granted in ways pleasing to Allah, the Exalted. In addition, if one desires to adopt true piety, then they must be ready to spend their wealth for the sake of Allah, the Exalted. Chapter 3 Ali Imran, verse 92.
Never will you attain the good reward until you spend in the way of Allah from that which you love.
In reality, wealth is a strange companion, as it only benefits someone when it leaves them, meaning when it is spent in the correct way. A person would be labeled a fool if they went on a long trip without any provisions. Similarly, the one who does not send their wealth ahead in the form of provisions for their long journey to the hereafter is also foolish. There is no doubt that one of the greatest pains a person feels at the time of death is when they realize that they are leaving behind their hard-earned wealth and journeying towards the hereafter empty-handed. A Muslim should avoid this outcome at all costs. Performing righteous deeds is the only way one prepares for their grave, as no other things of comfort will be found there. It is in fact the means for preparing one's eternal home in the hereafter. Therefore, this preparation should take priority over preparing for the temporal material world. A person would be labeled a fool if they had two homes and dedicated the majority of their efforts on beautifying the home which they will spend less time in. Similarly, if a Muslim dedicates more time and effort in beautifying their temporal home in this world over the eternal home of the hereafter, they too are simply foolish. This is the attitude of some, even though they admit and believe their stay in this world is short and for an unknown length, whereas their stay in the hereafter will be eternal. This attitude indicates a lack of certainty of faith, and it is therefore vital for anyone who shares this mentality to seek and act on Islamic knowledge in order to strengthen their certainty of faith before they reach the hereafter, bereft of all good. The one who prepares for their grave with sincere obedience to Allah, the Exalted, by fulfilling His commands, refraining from His prohibitions, and by facing destiny with patience according to the traditions of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, will find that their good deeds provide comfort for them, whereas the sins there accumulated will only make their stay in the dark grave worse. A Muslim should therefore perform good deeds during their strength and ability, before their time of weakness arrives. Each Muslim should recognize the reality indicated in the main narration, and therefore use the blessings they have been granted, in ways pleasing to Allah, the Exalted, before they reach a time when their request to be given more time to perform righteous deeds will be denied. Chapter 63 Al-Munafiqun, verses 10 to 11.
And spend in the way of Allah, from what we have provided you before death approaches one of you, and he says, My Lord, if only you would delay me for a brief term so I would give charity and be of the righteous. But never will Allah delay a soul when its time has come.
They should reflect now on their deeds, so that they can sincerely repent from sins and strive harder to perform righteous deeds before a day arrives when reflecting will not benefit them. Chapter 89 Al-Fajr, verse 23.
And brought within view that day is hell. That day man will remember, but how, i.e., what good to him will be the remembrance.
Let each one ponder over those who passed away before them, and their inability to perform more righteous deeds, to comfort them in their moment of need. Make haste before this time arrives, and prepare for the inevitable. Chapter 15 Al-Hijr, verse 99.
And worship your Lord until there comes to you the certainty, i.e., death.
In a narration found in Sahih Bukhari, number 2736, the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, advised that whoever knows the 99 names of Allah, the Exalted, will enter paradise. Knowing does not only refer to memorizing them. It actually means to study them and act on them according to one's status and potential. For example, Allah, the Exalted, is the most merciful according to His infinite status. This attribute means that Allah, the Exalted, bestows countless favors on the creation and is always extremely kind to them. This same characteristic has been attributed to others, such as the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. Chapter 9 at Tawbah, verse 128.
There has certainly come to you a messenger from among yourselves. Grievous to him is what you suffer. He is concerned over you, i.e., your guidance, and to the believers is kind and merciful.
When used in reference to the creation, merciful means soft-hearted and compassionate. Similarly, Allah, the Exalted, is all-forgiving according to His infinite status. And adopting this attribute by forgiving others, for the sake of Allah, the Exalted, is something which has been encouraged in Islam. Chapter 24 and Nur, verse 22.
And let them pardon and overlook. Would you not like that Allah should forgive you?
So the divine attributes of Allah, the Exalted, can be adopted by Muslims according to their status and potential. Therefore, Muslims must first understand the meaning of the divine attributes and names, and then adopt the meaning of the names in their character through action, until they become firmly rooted into their spiritual heart, so that they can achieve noble character. This noble character will ensure they use the blessings they have been granted in ways pleasing to Allah, the Exalted, as outlined in the teachings of the Holy Quran and the traditions of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. This leads to peace and success in both worlds. Chapter 16 and now, verse 97.
Whoever does righteousness, whether male or female, while he is a believer, we will surely cause him to live a good life, and we will surely give them their reward in the hereafter according to the best of what they used to do.
In a narration found in Jami' at-Tirmidhi, number 3120, the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, advised that each person will be asked 3 questions in the grave. The first question will be, who is your Lord? In order to answer this question correctly, a Muslim must not only believe in Allah, the Exalted, but prove this belief through actions. This is only achieved by fulfilling his commands, refraining from his prohibitions, and by facing his decrees with patience. This will ensure they use the blessings they have been granted in ways pleasing to Allah, the Exalted. It is this very proof which will support a Muslim in their grave when they encounter this question. It is important to note that even some non-Muslims believe in Allah, the Exalted, yet they will fail to answer this question correctly, as they did not use the blessings they were granted in ways pleasing to Him during their lives on earth. If only believing in Him was enough, then these non-Muslims would succeed in this question. But it is quite evident they will not succeed. The next question will be, what is your religion? If a Muslim desires to answer this correctly, they must not only believe in Islam, but practically implement its teachings in their everyday life. This involves sincerely striving to obtain and act on the teachings of the Holy Quran and the traditions of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. It is the reason gaining useful knowledge has been made a duty on all Muslims, according to a narration found in Sunan Ibn Majah, number 224. Following Islam goes beyond the few obligatory duties and involves acting on its teachings in every aspect of one's life, such as one's social, financial, work and personal life. The final question according to this narration will be, who is your prophet? It is important to note that even some of the past nations believed in their prophets, peace be upon them, but as they did not follow in their footsteps correctly, they will fail in answering this question correctly. If a Muslim desires to answer this question correctly, they must not only verbally declare their belief in the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, but actively learn and act on his traditions and teachings. This is the very purpose of sending holy prophets, peace be upon them, meaning to practically follow them. Chapter 33 Al-Ahzab, verse 21.
There has certainly been for you, in the Messenger of Allah, an excellent pattern, for anyone whose hope is in Allah and the Last Day, and who remembers Allah often.
The mercy, love and forgiveness of Allah, the Exalted, which will help a Muslim answer this question correctly, is only possible to obtain through this method. Chapter 3 Ali Imran, verse 31.
Say, if you should love Allah, then follow me, so Allah will love you and forgive you your sins. And Allah is forgiving and merciful.
To conclude, just like the questions in a written or oral exam cannot be answered successfully without practically learning knowledge, through studying and revision, neither can a person answer the questions of the grave successfully without practically learning and acting on the teachings of the Holy Quran and the traditions of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, in every aspect of one's life. In a narration found in Jami' at-Tirmidhi, number 2347, the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, advised that his true friend is the one who possesses the following characteristics. The first characteristic is that they strive and obtain only what they require in order to fulfill their necessities and the necessities of their dependents, while avoiding excessiveness, waste and extravagance. One can adopt this attitude when they strive to use the blessings they have been granted in ways pleasing to Allah, the Exalted. This has been outlined in the Holy Quran and the traditions of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. The next characteristic mentioned in the main narration is that they have a good share in the prayer. This means they establish their obligatory prayers by fulfilling them correctly with all their conditions and etiquettes, such as offering them on time. This also includes establishing the voluntary prayers, which are based on the traditions of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, such as the voluntary night prayer. This is in fact the best prayer, after the obligatory prayers, according to a narration found in Sunan and Nasai, number 1614. A good share in the prayer also includes offering the obligatory prayers with the congregation at a mosque when possible. It is sad to see how many Muslims live in proximity of a mosque yet still do not join the congregation, even when they are free from work. The next characteristic mentioned in the main narration under discussion is that this Muslim obeys Allah, the Exalted, in public and in private. This involves fulfilling His commands, refraining from His prohibitions, and by facing destiny with patience according to the traditions of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. This will ensure one uses the blessings they have been granted in ways pleasing to Allah, the Exalted. Doing so in private indicates a person's sincerity to Allah, the Exalted, meaning they only perform righteous deeds for His sake. This is the one who firmly remembers that no matter where they are, the inner and outer aspects of their being is constantly being observed by Allah, the Exalted. If one persists on this belief, they will adopt excellence of faith, which is mentioned in a narration found in Sahih Muslim, number 99. It means they act, such as performing the prayer, as if they can observe Allah, the Exalted, watching them. This attitude encourages righteous deeds and prevents sins. The next characteristic mentioned in the main narration is that they avoid obtaining any type of fame or social honor. According to a narration found in Jami' at-Tirmizi, number 2376, this desire is more destructive to a Muslim's faith than the destruction two hungry wolves would cause to a herd of sheep. A person's craving for fame and status is arguably more destructive to one's faith than their craving for wealth. A person will even spend their beloved wealth on obtaining fame and prestige. It is rare for someone to obtain status and fame, and still remain firm on the correct path whereby they prioritize preparing for the hereafter over enjoying the material world. In fact, a narration found in Sahih Bukhari, number 6723, warns that a person who seeks status in society, such as leadership, will be left to deal with it themselves, but the one who receives it without asking for it will be aided by Allah, the Exalted, in remaining obedient to Him. Another narration found in Sahih Bukhari, number 7148, warns that people will be keen to obtain status and authority, but it will be a great regret for them on the Day of Judgment. This is a dangerous craving, as it forces one to strive intensely to obtain it, and then strive further in order to hold on to it, even if it encourages them to commit oppression and other sins. The worst type of craving for status is when one obtains this through religion. A narration found in Jami' at-Tirmizi, number 2654, warns that this person will go to hell. Seeking repute also causes one to act in order to please people, instead of acting to please Allah, the Exalted. This person will be told to gain the reward for their deeds on Judgment Day from the people they acted for, which will not be possible. This has been warned in a narration found in Jami' at-Tirmizi, number 3154. Seeking repute also causes one to adopt negative characteristics, such as being two-faced in order to please everyone. This leads to many sins, and this person will ultimately be disgraced publicly by Allah, the Exalted. The very people which they aim to please will criticize and hate them, even if they conceal this from them. The final thing mentioned in the main narration is that their death comes quickly, their mourners are few, and the inheritance they leave behind is small. Their death comes suddenly so that they are taken to the mercy of Allah, the Exalted, quickly and in order to protect them from the difficulties of a slow and prolonged death. Their mourners are few, as they avoided seeking social honor and preferred to remain anonymous, as they feared showing off their righteous deeds to others. But the few mourners they do have are far better than the many the rich and famous have. Their few mourners are sincere in their sadness and genuinely supplicate to Allah, the Exalted, for their forgiveness, whereas the many mourners of the rich and famous do not behave in this manner. The inheritance they leave behind is small, as they directed the vast majority of their blessings towards the hereafter by using them in ways pleasing to Allah, the Exalted. They understood that anything they left behind would fall into the hands of others who would enjoy the blessings while they, the deceased, will be held accountable for obtaining it. It is why a narration found in Jami, At-Tirmidhi, number 2379, warns that a person's family and wealth abandons them at their grave, and only their deeds accompany them in their lonely grave. Therefore, they concentrate on obtaining righteous deeds by using their blessings correctly, and avoid misusing them thereby committing sins. Even though they leave little behind, as inheritance they in fact take a lot with them to the hereafter, in order to support themselves in their moment of need. Chapter 59 Al-Hash, verse 18.
O you who have believed, fear Allah, and let every soul look to what it has put forth for tomorrow.
Finally, they may not leave much worldly things behind, such as wealth and properties, but they do leave behind a huge legacy of goodness, such as ongoing charity and useful knowledge, which continues to benefit them even after their death. This has been indicated in a narration found in Jami, At-Tirmidhi, number 1376. To conclude, those who claim to love the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, must support this verbal claim with actions. Claims without actions have little value in both worldly and religious matters. One of these proofs is to adopt these characteristics which lead to his friendship. The one who befriends the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, will be granted his company in the hereafter. Chapter 4 An-Nisa, verse 69.
And whoever obeys Allah and the Messenger, those will be with the ones upon whom Allah has bestowed favor of the prophets, the steadfast affirmers of truth, the martyrs and the righteous. And excellent are those as companions.
In a narration found in Jami, At-Tirmidhi, number 1999, the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, advised that Allah, the Exalted, loves beauty. Islam does not prohibit a Muslim from dedicating energy, time and money in beautifying themselves, as this can be considered fulfilling the rights of their body. This has been commanded in a narration found in Sahih Bukhari, number 5199. But the key thing which differentiates acting in this manner to acting in a disliked or even sinful manner is when one is excessive, wasteful or extravagant when beautifying themselves. A good way to determine this is that beautifying oneself should never cause one to neglect fulfilling one's duty to Allah, the Exalted, or people, which is not possible to fulfill without gaining and acting on Islamic knowledge. Nor should beautifying oneself prevent them from using the blessings they have been granted in ways pleasing to Allah, the Exalted. And in reality, correcting one's physical appearance so that they appear clean and smart is not expensive, nor does it take much time or effort. This beautifying attitude applies to all things, such as one's home. As long as one avoids extravagance and waste and continues to use the blessings they have been granted in ways pleasing to Allah, the Exalted, they are free to make things comfortable for themselves in a moderate manner. In addition, it is more important to understand that true beauty which Allah, the Exalted, loves is connected to internal beauty, meaning one's character. This beauty will endure in both worlds, whereas one's outer beauty will eventually fade away with the passing of time. One should therefore prioritize obtaining this true beauty over external beauty by striving to gain and act on Islamic knowledge so that they eliminate any bad traits, such as envy, from their character, and adopt good characteristics, such as generosity. This will aid one in fulfilling the rights of Allah, the Exalted, by fulfilling His commands, refraining from His prohibitions, and by facing destiny with patience according to the traditions of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, and will aid them in fulfilling the rights of people, which includes treating others in a way one wishes people to treat them. In a narration found in Sunan Abu Dawood, number 2511, the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, warned of two bad traits which must be avoided. The first is greed. This can lead one to withholding the obligatory charity, and this only leads to destruction in both worlds. For example, a narration found in Sahih Bukhari, number 1403, warns that the person who does not donate their obligatory charity will encounter a large poisonous snake which will continuously bite them on the Day of Judgment. Chapter 3 Ali Imran, verse 180.
And let not those who greedily withhold what Allah has given them of His bounty ever think that it is better for them. Rather, it is worse for them. Their necks will be encircled by what they withheld on the day of resurrection.
If one's greed prevents them from donating voluntary charity, it may not be unlawful, but it is highly undesirable, as this contradicts the characteristic of a true believer. Put simply, the stingy person is far from Allah, the Exalted, far from paradise, far from people and close to hell. This has been warned in a narration found in Jami at-Tirmidhi, number 1961. Greed will encourage one to use their blessings, such as their time and wealth, in ways pleasing to themselves instead of recognizing that the path to peace and success in both worlds is to use the blessings one has been granted in ways pleasing to Allah, the Exalted, the true owner and bestower of all blessings. A greedy person only ever cares about their own rights, and will therefore easily neglect the rights of Allah, the Exalted, and people. This only leads to stress and trouble in both worlds. The other characteristic mentioned in the main narration under discussion is extreme cowardice. This attitude prevents trust in Allah, the Exalted, and in what He has promised, such as one's guaranteed provision. It can cause one to seek their provision in doubtful and unlawful means, which will destroy a person in both worlds. Allah, the Exalted, does not accept any deed which has a foundation in the unlawful. This has been warned in a narration found in Sahih Muslim, number 2342. Just like the inward foundation of Islam is one's intention, similarly the outward foundation of Islam is obtaining and utilizing the lawful. In addition, being a coward prevents one from striving against the devil and one's inner devil, which requires genuine struggle. This will lead one to fail in obeying Allah, the Exalted, which involves fulfilling His commands, refraining from His prohibitions, and facing destiny with patience according to the traditions of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. And it will therefore prevent them from fulfilling the rights of people. Both worldly and religious success requires effort and time. A coward will be too afraid to undertake this struggle, and will instead be lazy, which leads to failure in both worldly and religious matters. In addition, a coward will easily claim they are trying their best in obeying Allah, the Exalted, while they are hardly putting in any effort. They claim this, even though the Holy Quran makes it clear that if a person tries their best and acts according to their potential, they will correctly fulfill the rights of Allah, the Exalted, and people. This is because Allah, the Exalted, never gives duties to a person which are beyond their capacity to fulfill. Chapter 2 Al-Baqarah, verse 286.
Allah does not charge a soul except with that within its capacity.
Cowardice will also encourage one to aim for the minimum in both religious and worldly matters. They will refrain from fulfilling their potential, as this requires genuine effort. This attitude will only lead to stress and regrets in both worlds. In a narration found in Sahih Bukhari, number 1372, the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, confirmed that there is punishment in the grave. Many verses and narrations of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, discuss this stage which all people will face in some form or fashion. As it is inevitable, Muslims must prepare for it, as the light or darkness of the grave does not come from the grave itself. It is one's deeds which either darkens or illuminates their grave. Similarly, it is one's deeds which will determine if they face punishment or mercy in their grave. The only way to prepare for it is through piety, which consists of fulfilling the commands of Allah, the Exalted, refraining from His prohibitions and facing destiny with patience according to the traditions of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. This will ensure one uses the blessings they have been granted in ways pleasing to Allah, the Exalted. These righteous deeds will protect one from the punishment of the grave, by the permission and mercy of Allah, the Exalted. It is strange how a Muslim will dedicate much time, energy and wealth to making their worldly home comfortable, even though their stay in this world is short, whereas they pay little attention to making their grave comfortable, even though one's stay in the grave will be long and more serious. Muslims often journey to cemeteries in order to bury their relatives and friends. But very few truly realize that one day, sooner or later, their turn will come. Even though the majority of Muslims dedicate the majority of their efforts to pleasing their family and earning wealth over pleasing Allah, the Exalted, through righteous deeds, a narration found in Jami' at-Tirmidhi, number 2379, warns that these two things, which Muslims give priority to, will abandon them at their grave and only their deeds will remain with them. Therefore, it makes sense for a Muslim to give priority to obtaining righteous deeds over pleasing their family and obtaining excess wealth. This does not mean one should abandon their family and wealth. But it means they should fulfill their duty to their family according to the teachings of Islam, without going overboard by neglecting their duties to Allah, the Exalted, and only obtain the wealth they require to achieve this. When this is done correctly, it becomes a righteous deed as well. This is confirmed in a narration found in Sahih Bukhari, number 4006. One should never abandon their duties to Allah, the Exalted, for the sake of their family or wealth, as this will only lead to an isolated, lonely and dark grave. Chapter 20 Taha, verse 55.
From it, i.e. the earth we created you, and into it we will return you, and from it we will extract you another time.
Over 400 free ebooks, audiobooks, infographics, podcasts and blogs available on our website, www.shakepod.com.